Force Auxiliary, Aerospace and IT Officer in the United States Air Force Auxiliary. Colonel in Commemorative Air Force, graduate of South Brunswick and East Brunswick System Policy Academy, former board of directors at local YMCA, and an active community leader. Mr. Agari is also a fellow at the American Indo-Pacific Forum, based in Washington, D.C. His other interests include international relations, geopolitics, sustainable development, foreign affairs, politics, history, aviation, and aerospace. He frequently writes on politics, international relations, and foreign affairs. Welcome, Mr. Agari.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming. Mayor Prinzel, South River, I know you're very busy. Thank you for making some time. Mayor Cohen, see you all the time. You're always in the community. Thank you very much. And all the other attendees. And Professor Doug Collier, who's our presenter on mental health and substance abuse today. Welcome all. A lot of people ask me, what's Lead Foundation Global? I tell them, to make an impact, just like it takes one person with an unshakable faith, all it takes is one idea with an unwavering focus. And that one idea is Lead Foundation Global. When we formed Lead Foundation Global, I told, when they asked me to become president of the organization, I said, we're new, we're only 2 years old, we don't have a lot of audience, it's sustainable development is a focus. Let's face it, it's not a rock concert, right? It's not a Hollywood celebrity. It's hard to draw audience, hard to draw crowd. But I said, still, it's something really important for this planet. And I said, our focus should be on youth, which is why you see, this time we have a much lesser crowd, unlike last year. You see not just the volunteers, but also speakers would be youth speakers. And they would be focusing on clean water and sanitation. That was our focus. I also mentioned we should focus on sustainable development goals, because we, as one organization, as one group of people, cannot change the whole world in a day. If it's not possible for United Nations, how can we change as one organization? Which is why the target for the goals keep changing. Initially it was Millennium Development Goals, 2000, and then it went to 2015, and now it's 2030. Those are the targets for the United Nations to reach sustainability through the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and 169 targets. So our focus revolves around Sustainable Development Goals. So I met last week. I also met with people from United Nations. I was at the Eagleton Institute of Politics 2 days ago in Rutgers University. I met a few people from United Nations and I spoke with them. And I said, I have a bunch of youth volunteers who are very excited. And that's why I spoke with my team and I promised them opportunities, and I mean it. It's being recorded right now. He has a recording. I promise. I have huge contacts. So I know several people politically, both sides of the aisle, United Nations. All I want is the youth to come forward, take advantage of those opportunities. You'll see this in the next few months. Have a few other things planned out, and with your participation, I want the organization to grow, and I want you guys, because we're not going to be here forever. I'm not going to be here for another 200 years, or any of us. So I look forward to you guys to lead us, right, in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals set forth by United Nations. So with that, all I would like to say is, with progress comes problems, right? So this started during Industrial Revolution, if you guys remember. I'm a history teacher, so I'll try not to go too far back in history, but I'll just go until the mid-18th century, about 1740s, which is when the Industrial Revolution started in England, right, with the advent of steam engine. I'm pretty sure you guys know that. And then we started growing and growing and growing, but again, with progress came a lot of problems, which is pollution. So Homo sapiens, which is humans, us, we thought, since we live here, since we're the most powerful creatures, we thought we could take advantage and destroy and abuse the available natural resources, which we are very successful at doing, and I'm very ashamed of that. As a human myself, we started polluting the air, we started polluting the water. Look at Passaic River, right, up in Jersey, spending millions and millions of dollars. Look at all the Superfund sites. So we thought we could, we have authority, we thought we could pollute air, water, land. None of us own any of these. We might be rich, we might be the most industrialized nations on the planet, we might be the most poorest nations on the planet. We still do not have any right on any of the natural resources. We started polluting that. So I personally think humans, which is us, are part of the problem. We caused the problem, so now it's time for us to fix these problems. No one else is going to come fix it. We created it, so we have to solve the problems, which is why we focus on Sustainable Development Goals by United Nations. Again, there's 17 in number. It's too much. So we at Lead Foundation Global decided to focus on a couple of those rather than being a parabola, right? We decided to have a laser focus on 3 of those, which is, one of them is clean water and sanitation, goal number 6, quality education, goal number 4, and then mental health, quality and well-being, which Professor Collier will give a presentation in a few minutes. So with that said, thank you very much for attending today's meeting, and I hope to see a lot more people. I know we had the DECA or DESA conference or meeting, so a lot of students are missing, but my only request is students to spread this word and bring more volunteers. I see a lot of potential. Again, like I said, all it takes is one idea, one person, right? Always focus on quality, not quantity. Everybody starts small, everything starts small, every dream starts small. It's the effort which has to be big to bring that to a fruition, all right? From this podium, I would like to request Mayor Krenzel and Mayor Cohen and Professor Collier to spread the word and help us in spreading the word and attract more crowd from your respective townships and places. With that, thank you very much. I don't believe in giving long speeches. I'm not a politician, so I'll keep it short. So thank you very much, and stage is all yours, Sophia.
So next up we have Mayor John Krenzel. Mayor John Krenzel is a practicing attorney. Mr. Krenzel was first elected mayor in 2011 and is now finishing out his 3rd term, which will expire December 31st, 2023. I would like to invite Mr. John Krenzel, the mayor of the Borough of South River.
Thank you for your kind invitation there. I have a busy agenda, and besides, no one wants to hear politicians yak. So I did want to focus on one topic that you'll be discussing today, the water and sanitation. In South River, there are areas that have problems with clean water. Analysis have shown that the problem, they're years old, and they're not going to be easy to fix, and it's not going to be easy to pay for this, but the problems must be addressed. As you discuss the need for clean water, keep in mind the economics. Too often, ideas are put forth that hurt people economically. A balancing of needs must be taken into account. But economics cannot stop ideas. Sanitation is normally not thought of until it stops. Stop picking up the garbage, and then everybody will complain. Thought has to be put into the ideas as to what to do with waste. All types of waste, from garbage that is put out of the house to the flushing of toilets, and how to handle the ever-increasing amount of waste and what to do about it in the future. I hope your discussions are fruitful and that you take from here ideas how to make the world cleaner, and for yourselves and for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
Next, we're going to have our session on mental health. I would like to invite Professor Doug Collier. Special Agent Collier holds a bachelor's degree from National College and has earned a master's degree from Monmouth University. He is also State of New Jersey Police Training Commission, PTC certified instructor and professor, and has testified as an expert witness regarding international and domestic drug investigations. Special Agent Collier is a member of the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police and an associate academic member of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. Special Agent Collier united with the Monmouth University's Department of Criminal Justice in 2018, serving as the director of the Professional Outreach and Engagement, as well as teaching in the graduate program. His role entails developing and promoting the graduate program among practitioners and executive leaders throughout the criminal justice field. Additionally, Special Agent Collier is one of the graduate program subject matter experts teaching and enhancing the program with a special focus on federal, state, and international global studies in criminal justice. Professor Doug Collier.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you for your work and your passion. And while you were saying your words about don't worry about numbers, because I'm a guy that always got attacked about, hey, you're never going to do anything with drugs. You're never going to save any lives. How many times you hear is like, our drug policies don't work. I live with that every day, but every day I woke up, and guess what? We did good work. We saved people. We made sure we had good decisions. See, drugs is, unfortunately, a mental health issue that deals with the brain, right? So I want to talk to you today, really like my class, right? So it's not going to be behind the podium. We're going to interact. We're going to chat. And I think that's important because we need to really engage to learn, right? Learning can be fun. So I have about 25 minutes of information that I want to share with you that's current, relevant, and once again, Rana, thank you very much for your passion. And Mayor Cohen, always good to see you again. He didn't remember me, but he remembers me as a short-term memory, but hopefully he won't again. So anyway, and thank you for being here. Again, I'm a professor at Monmouth University now. I'm a doctoral student. My research is drugs. I also, just so you know, we talk about sustainability. I am the creator and architect of Project Medicine Drop. Our concern was prescription drugs being thrown into the water waste. I came up not only because I wanted people to rid their medicine properly, I was also concerned with the environment, that we would have a place to discard the medication. And Mayor knows in his police department, there's a Project Medicine Drop box there. That's my initiative. I just want you to know that I'm passionate about what you guys all believe, right? Especially prescription drugs, right? I also have an academic background that I think is important, and as an educator I want to kind of share some stuff. It's tough to be a kid nowadays. It's really what's we're going to talk about in the next half hour, all right? And I told you before, my experience, I do a lot of teaching. This is my expertise, and I just want to share some things that maybe you leave here with 2 takeaways. That's it. You can't remember everything. But if you can leave here with 2 takeaways, that's something you didn't learn before, that's really what it's all about. And again, this is my passion. As you guys have a passion, I appreciate what you do when I do my education. So sometimes there's a lot of pressures on you, and I tell everybody, especially for all of you, you know, what's the challenge that we have? Grades, family, COVID, right? Every single day, a little challenging for you. And we know that sometimes those are risk factors for all of us, right? So the other things we look at, what else we have? Fitting in, social media, figure out myself. Now, I heard social media earlier, right? That's a good thing. It also could be a bad thing, right? And we're going to talk about cyberbullying, things that you have to deal with. So again, that's mental health. That's mental health, dealing with those type of things. So again, school safety, everything that you have to deal with that maybe we didn't have to deal with. So some things we're seeing, we're talking about vapes, marijuana, and edibles. I want to make sure you understand that. Online bullying means students, inappropriate pictures, and mental health issues. That's what we're going to talk about in the next 20 minutes or so. Again, what's going on in here? Yes, this is mental health. Your emotions right now, they're developing. We understand that from a science perspective and research. So it's really important to understand that we need to understand you so we can kind of prepare ourselves, right? You're in a critical stage right now in brain development. Research says that your brain will continue to develop to 20 to 25. The onset for mental illness and substance use is very dangerous before this time. That's why we want to educate all of you. And I ask all of you that what you should do, and what I like for you to do as you continue to build up your organization, is next time invite 1 person or 2 people to come with you. You take them by the hand, say you're coming. So if you do that, guess what? Now this room is half full. And then we challenge them again. They grab them by the hand, so we're going to be with me arm in arm. If you're passionate, bring them, right?
Can we interrupt you with questions, or you entertain questions at the end?
At the end.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the way we can chat. So one thing I want to talk about, puffs, right? How many of you have heard these, seen these? Go to bathrooms, right? #1 place and location in schools is the bathroom for these things. We have to be careful with those because, again, secondhand smoke, these do contain nicotine. We know this is probably the biggest issue that we're having in middle schools and in high schools. Why? Because the attitude is like, it's not a big deal, it's just flavoring. You have to understand, nicotine's a drug. This drug can have a mental effect on your ability to sustain information and so forth. So just keep that in mind. Stuff no one tells you, nicotine withdrawal. Yes, those things have nicotine. You will get nicotine withdrawal, popcorn lung, toxic metals, just like cigarettes. And when I ask and I survey kids about Cigarettes, they raise their hand, oh, we know cigarettes are bad, they cause cancer, we shouldn't smoke, but yet they will use a vape. Vape's the same thing, right? So just keep that in mind. The other thing that we have to be aware with is there's other items in there, and what we're seeing is other contraband. So now there's mixing drugs in there, right? So we have to be prepared that, understand, it may not just be a vape, right? So again, making good decisions is really important. The other thing that we're seeing here that no one talks about is the vape tongue. Everybody see this? Because you take that vape, you put it in your mouth, you suck on it like a straw, the chemicals propylene glycol, vegetable glycerin, and nicotine is staining the tongue. What happens? Well, that's not a big deal. Yes, it is a big deal. Because research now is telling us that we're having a problem with it desensitizes your taste buds. So if I put sugar on your tongue, oh, it's sweet. Put a lemon on your tongue, oh, right? You don't get that. So understand there are some things that we really need to be concerned with. And again, it's the solvents in there that nobody tells you. Things that nobody tells you, so it's really important.
Is that permanent or is that like?
They don't know yet. They don't know yet. So again, the research, there's no research on long-term risk right now. So again, we don't know. The doctors don't know if vape tongue has long-term consequences. But anyway, if you see somebody like this with a tongue like that, don't kiss him, all right? Don't kiss him or her. All right, sorry. All right, so just to kind of get you involved with that. The other thing is cannabis. We have to understand that cannabis is here in this state, right? The perception is that what we're finding from adolescents is when a perception of a drug is really low, when a perception of a drug, like in New Jersey, that's not that big of a deal. Why? Oh, it's medical, everybody's using it. The use goes high. The use is up. It's just normal. Perception of drug goes down, use goes up. So guess what? That's the perception, unfortunately. But there's some dangers here. You have to be 21 years of age, right? You have to be 21, so just keep that in mind. What our concern is, especially mental health, it affects one area of the brain the most. This is not me, this is research. This is NIDA, the National Institute of Drug Abuse. And the area that we're concerned is called the hippocampus. The hippocampus, right, controls many things, but one thing that we're finding in adolescents, it controls your memory. So, we're finding more and more studies that you can't recall things. Where did I put my phone? Where's my book? I'm supposed to meet with somebody today. What am I doing? What class am I going? We're starting to find that with adolescents. So understand that that is really a concern of research, and it continues to be a concern for research for adolescents. So we have to understand there is a mental health component to this, right? Potency, I wanted to tell you the difference, right? 1999, it was about 3%. We're right now about 22%. The onset of addiction at a high purity is faster. And yes, substance use disorder in a DSM-5, there is a diagnosis that you can be addicted. That's not me, that's the mental health professionals that look at that book and diagnose people, so keep that in mind. Right? It is the most widely used illicit drug among American youth. You are smoking at younger age, perception's down, use goes up, and the strength has increased. So understand, I tell everybody it's not grandma's marijuana of 20, 30 years ago, right? So keep that in mind. Again, not to scare you, just want to make sure I'm giving you facts. We know research tells us that it's anxiety, psychosis. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean if somebody has anxiety?
Anxiety means that they can't really focus, they're nervous all the time.
Yeah, what about psychosis? What's that?
It's when they're kind of unsure, like they're always like emotionally unstable.
Yeah, we call these triggers. So at any time, you could be fine and all of a sudden, you're now in your room holding yourself like this, shaking because you don't know what's going on. So we're finding that, not me, this is what we're finding. Attention and learning and memory can be negatively affected, slower reaction time, especially drug driving. Put my special agent hat on. Drug driving is concerning to me. Research is saying this: if you're impaired with this drug and you're driving, you see a stop sign, you're driving in a vehicle. Does everybody have their driver's license? You have your driver's license?
No.
Not yet?
We
You wanna
mostly
drive?
look
No.
for permits,
Yeah.
like permits.
So you're getting that, right? So you're going to see it is stressful, right? But you will have that opportunity. It's a privilege. But research is telling us with adolescents that use this, you see the stop sign. Stop sign means stop. But what happens when you're impaired, you'll see the stop sign, you'll pass the stop sign, and then you'll put the brake on. It's called reaction time delayed. Okay? So that's really important because, God forbid, if you're in a type of accident and so forth. So those are things that are really, and this is from, again, NIDA 2003 research. Everything I give you is not made up from me. I support it by research. I'm a research geek. Got it? So just so you know, that helps us because everyone will tell you different things, but I look at research, right? The other thing, and I'll get your question in 1 minute. The other thing is that we have to look at, there's also a drug out there called butane hash oil, or they call it shatter butter, right? And earwax, you can see what it looks like, unfortunately, but it's a concentration of taking THC and extracting only the THC, which is a very high potency. And they will use it on cigarettes, they will use it smoking, obviously, and what we're finding, this BHO is really a high potency, and psychosis, and psychosis is delusional episodes also, and because it's so strong, so have to keep an eye on that. 2 million US teens are vaping marijuana, so you see the difference. This is not me, this is the most recent study that came out. Right? So again, it's just something we have to understand. You may not know what you're smoking. The one thing I want you really to understand, especially all of you, because we don't know this, is edibles, right? In this state, we're moving to having more than just, currently right now, you can have gummies and you can have some chocolate that has infused THC. But I want you to know what this is, because you heard about it. Let me give you the facts. Food and snacks developed with cannabis known as edibles. They're like cookies and brownies, right? They tend to be gummies or any type of things. Like these products are infused with THC. That's the active ingredient in marijuana. The component marijuana creates a psychosis effects, or more simply, going to cause a person to feel high. That's what you need to know. So, other than smoking, it's another route of administration, right? So you orally take it. Most medications, 15 to 20 minutes, if you take an oral, it'll have a reaction, right? We have an action and a reaction. So, we want to kind of make sure you understand this if you leave any. One of your takeaways, really important. So, you see the difference between these products, and you look at the marketing. Who are they marketing? Who eats Skittles and Starbucks and, Starburst? Who eats that?
Teenagers.
Yeah! So let's make it very marketable for our younger population. And listen, here's the thing you need to know. If you leave anything. If you ever see any of these products, you're going to see a triangle with a marijuana leaf. Looks like it, right? You need to know that that product is infused with THC. A lot of these products they're getting from California, the West Coast, and they get them sent via internet. Via mail. So understand that, right? However, they'll tell you here that on the back of it, you're going to see 400 micrograms. That's like 2 Starburst gummies, right? Who only eats 2 Starburst gummies? Not me. I take a handful, like you guys, I shove them, I love it. But what happens, what we're seeing, especially with teens, because teens are going into the emergency room, and Dawn, we call this Drug Warning Network, is telling us this, is that you don't know it's really that type of THC in there. You take 1 or 2 and you're like, I'm fine. What's the normal reaction? Take a couple more. I don't feel anything. The onset's 20 minutes and then it's like a bulldozer, boom. And then you're going to the emergency room. So
Does it hit straight away, Professor, or does it gradually hit you? Does it hit you like that, or does it gradually hit you?
All depends on the DU, the dosage unit you're taking, right? Because you'll see there's some 400, there's some 600. So most of the times that you'll feel it, but if you take more, it will the onset. And I'll give you an example. One kid took it on a Monday and didn't wake up until Wednesday.
God.
They had, yeah, the parents were like, they didn't know what happens. So it's scary. So just keep that in mind. I just want to make sure you understand, again, the psychotic episodes could happen, and those are the things that you need to be aware of. The other thing I want to show you is how marketing, think about marketing. This is the double stuffed Oreo, and this is double stuffed Stony. See the difference? It's cute, it's fun, but ultimately, you have to understand, you only can eat one Oreo for the dosage unit. Who eats one? Or I break them up. Anybody a break apart person? I am. I'd like okay, you guys are like me. I can't eat one. Okay, Sour Patch, Stony Patch. See the marketing? All right, so, and again, you see the different markings, which is required here, but the problem is the dosage units really for the problems we have. So please be aware, look at that packaging, right? Not only for yourself, be an ambassador for your friends. Make sure you're an ambassador for them, because I'm concerned with this as New Jersey is going to be pushing, obviously, for a lot of these edible products. My concern is adolescents. Stuff tells you, hey, we talked about overconsumption, right? Effects of edibles takes time to occur. You go through that digestive system, that means a lot of people won't see that, and so they'll continue to use more. The potency is higher. We see the paranoia, panic attacks, hallucinations, without a doubt. It's going to happen. And when you're in an emergency room, that's when it happens. It's unfortunate, and not just marijuana, so again, we are seeing other things laced. So keep in mind, good decisions, good ambassadors, maybe that one takeaway that we did here. We know that the abuse of drug affects a neurotransmitter called dopamine, right? It floods it, so just keep that in mind, that again, it is a chemical reaction. I was telling you about the development of the brain. This is the full development of the brain, blue. You guys are kind of right in here, the danger zone, where the onset of any drugs, nicotine, alcohol, is really concerned. That's why we have these prevention and education, so we make sure we can kind of give you good information to make good decisions, because we don't want anything to happen about this. So I also wanted to talk about something that I think is really important. How many of you have phones? You don't have a phone? Okay, come on, you got it. So I want to talk about something that's really concerning internet safety. And it's called A Conversation About Sextortion. It's about pictures that you take that unfortunately they're scantily clad. It has happened and they're sent. There are predators out there that will take that photo and sabotage you. And they will tell you that I have this photo. And if you don't send me $200 or $400, I'm sending it to your mom, your dad, your brother, your grandmother, the mayor's office, wherever. Guess what happens? You're finding $200, you're Venmoing this predator, because you don't want that picture. Whether it's scantily clad, it's a fun photo, maybe I guess we all make wrong decisions, right? But just want you to be aware of something that really has a toll on mental health. And we have seen students with attempt suicide because they are just really, really depressed about what's happening, why they took that photo, think their life is done. But I don't want you to really get disappointed, but I want to tell you a little about that. So let's talk about that, and then I'll finish up and I'll ask some questions. So a lot of you are online, about 3 hours, 2 hours, male or female, right? Number of social media platforms have increased, right? Because we continue to do a lot of, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it may be. Again, TikTok's very dangerous. Tell everybody it's very dangerous for all of you. What our child doing online, filling spare time, there's nothing else to do, finding content, seeing what's being talked about, making new contacts, finding like-minded communities and groups, which would be great for your group, and posting about your life. We find that everybody wants to post about their life. I mean, your life's so important, and everybody wants to say how wonderful they are, right? How many times you see, you're smiling in the back, right? Why are you smiling? Tell me.
It's so common.
It's like, oh my, it's amazing that everybody, even my friends, they're perfect. I'm like, how come I never have a bad day like them, right? And they're in a beautiful restaurant, and they're eating with the most beautiful people, and I'm like, what? So, yeah, and that's the concern that we have here. The problem is you're online a lot, and what we find that there are predators, and there are a lot of predators out there, and they use multiple applications and platforms to gain information about you, and don't think it's safe. They find it, right? It provides the ability to target all of you. So again, we call sextortion because that photo is going to give you shame, fear, confusion, suicidal behavior, which really is concerning to me. Because that one decision should really make a difference of that. It was maybe not a good decision, but we have to make sure we understand that. So the definition is sextortion is an online crime directed to children in which they will use blackmail or coerce you, right? And again, they'll acquire some content, they'll engage in some risky behavior, and ultimately they just want money, right? So here's the thing, if you're ever in a photo, tell your friends and family, whoever it may be, do not ever send them money. Do not ever send them money because they'll continue to extort you. You got it? So tell your friends and family. That's what law enforcement talks about. ICAT, which is International Crimes Against Children, a part of that organization, we advocate that. Right? Youth are sharing new content. Yeah, 1 out of 6. This is not me. This is research. Right? Share a nude image. Right? Again, 50% of kids said they didn't know. The recipient of those who shared also sent people that believed to be adults. So this is facts. This is not me. This is from, again, research based here. And you see, child sextortion case facts, 60% knew them. They didn't report it. That's probably the most unreported crime, because why? What does that give you? You're going to report a crime like that? Why? What's it going to do? It's going to embarrass you. Yeah, that's the problem we have. We have to really change that mindset and that behavior, because again, it's very embarrassing. And again, this is all researched out. Okay? So sexting is creating an image, a media. All right? I always say, think before you send. You can't do and can't go back. Especially if you're a part of this organization, you never know what they're going to do. They do in government, they do a lot of background checks. I have to give my social media accounts to DOJ, right? You have to do the same thing.
Military, constantly, every year, fingerprints.
Fingerprints, we get a top secret clearance, TS, right? I had to do that. So an employers will look at your social media. It may not be now, but later on, think about that. And if they see things that are not appropriate, they're going to question that. All right, so keep in mind, and the mayor has to do. They're always looking at his stuff just to make sure, right? You better post good stuff in there. If not, think about a politician, right?
Yep.
So again, it's just something we have to make sure we do good decisions, right? And again, and you see, and if you again post online, it's out there forever. It's really tough for it to get it out. So be smart about that. And again, some other things that we talked about a little bit earlier. So what happens here? Don't respond if you get that. Send additional pictures or pay money. Don't do that. Do save it. Tell an adult. Report it. Most important, tell an adult. You need to have some collaboration. We will help you, law enforcement. I just want to show you a screenshot of a case. And it says, from the predator, you're so hot, sent the picture through the app like you wanted, I saw it, and if you don't pay me $500 now, I'll send a naked pic to your friends and family. Give 30 seconds. A lot of anxiety, right? What? Please don't. I don't have that much money. How much can you pay? I give you 100. Okay, send it. They're opportunists. But the idea is don't give them that opportunity. Okay, so I really think it's important because of what we're seeing in suicide. So engaging in welfare, manufacturing, distribution, and possession. And again, I tell everyone, if you have that photo of somebody, don't send it to somebody else. Don't send it to somebody else. Delete it. Don't send it, because you don't want to be distribution of that, right? So again, those are cyberbullying real quick. Again, I think that's the one thing that we need to know. Bullying in technology is cyberbullying. We see a lot of hate, a lot of hate. It's easy to hate a certain group, a certain person when you're at your phone or you're behind your screen. It's so easy. Then when you meet that person, you're like, wow, they're not that bad. But I don't know why it's so easy for us to do that. So just keep in mind, what is cyberbullying? It's the use of the internet, related technology to harm other people in a deliberate, repeated, and hostile manner. We have to be accountable. It spreads faster, it's a wider audience. And here's the thing that we see really affects us, that kids that do get cyber fall into this category that it follows them home, and they continue to live with that. And they continue to live with this whole hate thing, and it really does really affect their attitude and aptitude. Social media, texting, instant messages, chat room, video games, these are all mode of that, right? We know that. And again, bullies, victim, and bystanders, which one are you going to be? If you're going to represent this great organization, then you need to be a leader. That's what Iran's doing for you guys, giving you leadership skills, not only now, later on, right? That's really about who you're going to be, right? If you see something, then you say something. That's going to be my presentation for you. I really wanted you guys to take 2 takeaways. And I know you had your hand up and you had a question. Let's have a little, it's a really little, chat session. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask, a good amount of people talk about marijuana and how it can calm them down, like the THC. So then, would it be an adverse effect after taking too much marijuana that would cause anxiety? Or maybe could it be that too much marijuana could lead from calmness to psychosis due to having a lack of emotion?
I think it's both. Good question. So, and again, my concern is adolescence. No, it's a good question. So the idea is we have to understand, especially with adolescence, for all of you is my concern is that the onset of any of those drugs are concerning at a young age because of the development of the brain. But the people that do use, right, will tell you that it calms them down, there's, and they'll advocate that. But again, I'm giving you research about the psychosis and anxiety that we're seeing. This is the higher purity. The higher purity is really the concern for my guys. All right? Good question. Go ahead.
How do you think COVID has affected drug use with the teenagers?
Yeah, well, we find, unfortunately, it's a good question. Research has told us this, is that because we institutionalized you and wasn't social, we find that adolescents are self-medicating. Not only with illegal drugs, but with drugs that are in your household, right? Over-the-counter drugs, right? We find these things because it's something that we know that anxiety has increased. With anxiety, you don't know how to handle that, so you self-medicate. Oh, I feel better now. I've taken some cough syrup. You feel better? Yeah, I feel better now. And all of a sudden that behavior has changed. You're self-medicating, right? And really, that's the challenge that we have, and we know that anxiety is more prevalent because of adolescents going to see their general practitioner, and one of the drugs that is being used is called Xanax. It's a benzodiazepine, and we know that that's a Schedule 4. We know that we can take a look and see how much is being prescribed, and the prescription of Xanax or benzodiazepine has increased among all of you too, including parents. So yeah. Go ahead.
On a global scale, how do you think the clean water crisis, we're all doing clean water panel, how do you think the clean water crisis has affected people, especially in more rural areas in other countries?
I'll stay in my lane as far as drugs going into the waterways. Is that what you're talking about? Or?
I'm talking about overall, for example, Flint, Michigan with their lead contaminated water, or even some rural areas in other countries, to name Kenya and just sub-Saharan Africa, and how their water's just contaminated to begin with, they don't have proper filtration systems.
Well, I wish my my older son's here. He's at the University of Michigan.
It's completely in the water, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
But he has studied. He is in a PhD program, analytical chemistry, and one of the things that he has done is. And he actually sent me some sustainability, and I'll send those to you, on studies about pollution in the water and talking about meds in the water. And he's in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So they're doing a lot of studies with Flint, with the high lead. And based on some of his sitting in the same town, they are overseas, majority of them. Law enforcement, especially local law enforcement, sometimes has a difficulty because the expertise, trying to find somebody out of the country, right? So what we decided to do is become more educators to tell our kids to be smarter, not to let them into their circle. So that's the more proactive way. We can't go to China and arrest somebody. It's not going to happen. We have to get a provisional arrest warrant, it has to go through embassies, and again, that's very difficult. But they may be in China, they may be in Europe, they may be in South Africa. That's the problem that gives us.
Do you think that's why people aren't reporting stuff like that as often? Because they feel like it's not being addressed?
No, I don't think that. I think with kids, with adolescents, the reason why is because they're embarrassed. They don't want to engage they don't want to engage with parents and family or caregivers about the decision they made, right? That's what we find. And when we chat with them, what we try to do is take the totality of things. So if it was a kid here, a kid here, a kid here, and the same IP address, at least we can address that, right? So I think it's really based on prevention and education for our kids, because some kids still don't realize that. They think they could take it off, the web. They don't, and they're uneducated, so we have to educate them. Go ahead.
On the topic of them just being embarrassed, I know firsthand, like I'm a junior in high school, so I've seen a lot of similar cases, for sure, like even in middle school, because we were that COVID 7th graders, so like, there was a lot of mental stuff going on.
Mental health issues, yeah.
But basically I've also seen people actually go and report it, but like law offices, like the schools, they don't do anything about it. Like they've failed to recognize the issue, and in order to protect their communities, like the schools' communities and their reputations, they'll actually just shove it under the rug and kind of just offer a deal. But like, for example, I knew a case where like at my school, as of recent, like there was a sexual assault case actually, and it was reported, and it was actually like it was a really big thing in the school. Everyone knew about it. But if a kid were to speak about it, like negatively on the assaulter's part, then the school would get involved. Like I had a friend who negatively spoke about the assaulter, and it wasn't even a way. They just like were like, oh, happy sexual assault awareness day, to the like cracking jokes to the sexual assaulter, because he still went to school with us after the case was being opened, and the school almost suspended our friend for saying that, but they didn't do anything about the actual sexual assaulter. And in fact, the only reason why we don't go to school with the kid anymore is because he left in order to preserve his own reputation. And I do think that plays a huge it plays a huge part for the impact on mental health for the kids, because we're seeing these reports go unnoticed and people aren't abiding to the great judicial system that America claims to have.
I don't know the case. I can't speak for the case. I don't know the evidence. I don't know if it's a state case or the statute.
Oh, they were the kid
don't know
was
anything.
found guilty. Like it was like.
All right, so there was justice. So our justice system does work.
But within like the school system, like there was like a whole thing where like he would like no contact order, restraining order, but everyone still runs into him even after justice was served.
Yeah.
The school didn't expel him. He went to school with us. They said, oh, he'll have an escort, but I saw him multiple times like throughout my freshman year just walking around without an escort.
Yeah.
And like everyone was worried about it. They're like, okay, he's not walking around with an escort. What's going on? Like it was just like justice was served on papers, but in actuality, it felt like almost nothing changed, which really affected my friends who were impacted by like the kid like touched some of my friends. Like my friends were mentally impacted by that, and actually a few of them ended up dropping out of my school and switching back to their hometown high schools.
It's unfortunate, but again, school policy, sometimes remember there can be an allegation till it's found. You're innocent until proven guilty, right? I'm glad that justice was served. I don't know the case, but unfortunately sometimes, having support systems, I think, is the most important for your friends and for you to have that conversation and make sure that, as victims, you can kind of have a support system. So I went over my time, I'm sorry, and we have one more, but we won't take it. Just teasing.
I have a comment.
Okay.
If you could quickly go to that slide where you mentioned about the reaction time being slow. You said slow reaction time?
Okay, on edibles?
Yeah, something where you're really slow in reaction time.
Okay, so we're going back to edibles, right?
The one before that were slow reaction time. Anyway, so my point was, where you say the reaction time is slow, the negative impacts of taking those. I want you guys to realize, I just want to extrapolate that comment or situation to air, right? So we're talking about driving, how that could impact driving. I'm a pilot, I train pilots, cadets in the Air Force. So think about how, and I want all of you to become pilots, honestly. So think about how that can also impact when flying a plane, not just driving a car, right? I know that kind of gets missed sometimes. So please think about that, because when you're flying a plane, especially when I'm flying through the clouds, there's a lot of multitasking. You wish you had 4 more hands. Okay, I'm serious. Okay, so think about that, not just the car, but also plane, right? So just try to extrapolate that.
I don't even think that the problem is not acknowledging the factors. I think it's just blatant ignorance, because my school personally, like, it's known throughout its district for having a minor, like, substance abuse issue, which is weird considering it's a medical field related school. Like, everyone there, like, the curriculum is all medical based, so you would think those were the kids who wouldn't have an abuse issue. But so, like, casually I've heard kids say, like, yeah, this person drives while under the influence of marijuana. I was like, you got in a car with them knowing they were under the influence of marijuana. We were talking about this in, actually, like, in 4th period the other day, casually, one of my friends was like, yeah, but like so-and-so drive under the influence when we were freshmen and they were a senior. I was like, so there's older kids who understand the factors driving around 14-year-olds under the influence. They understand the fact. I think it's just blatant ignorance at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's even, like, just acknowledging the factors.
So my comment of no questions, no volunteer hours has been preemptively destroyed because you guys asked a lot of questions. So I'll rest that comment. Keep it to myself, safely in my pocket.
So I will finish up with this, that, listen, I appreciate what you do. You are the leaders. Your purveyors are leaders. I want you to make sure you grab 2 people next time and you bring them here to your next awareness. That's how you build things. You ever hear of the band called KISS? You ever heard of a band called KISS? No?
Yeah.
Most of you? KISS? Right. KISS was a garage band. They came up with an idea and they branded. We are going to come up and we're going to paint our face. We're going to do something different. Everyone says, you're crazy. You're not, no one's going to follow you. You know, they are billion-dollar branding because they thought of things that nobody ever thought of. So I challenge you, think of things that you can do that nobody ever thought. That's a branding, and be leaders. And that's what they did. Think about that. Your homework is to look at a band called KISS. Okay, you get on your phone and you're like, oh my gosh. Nobody has done that before, the way that they look, with these high boots, black, star on their face, crazy hair, lipstick. Like, there's no way people are going to listen to billion-dollar business because they came up with that idea. Challenge you with that. Have a great rest of the session. Thank you. Good seeing you, Mayor. Good seeing you. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Smile, please. Smile, smile. Ha 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 ha.
Cohen, Mayor of East Brunswick. Brad Cohen was elected to the office in November 2016. The mayor began his public career in 2010 when he was elected to the East Brunswick Board of Education. Working with a dedicated group of board members, he helped navigate the schools through difficult economic times in the wake of the recession and the draconian cuts in state aid. He was named board president in 2014 and helped select a new superintendent of schools. Balancing fiscal responsibilities with massive needs in information technology, strategic planning, and infrastructure, the mayor chose to use his skills to improve the quality of life for all the residents of East Brunswick.
Quiet and intimate, and I kind of like that. And I also don't mind if you interrupt while I'm talking. Well, don't interrupt rudely, but ask a question. And I know this was a topic that we just came off. It was kind of heavy, so hopefully we could lighten up a little bit and get back to the sustainability purpose for which this group was put together. And not that that's not important. I'm a physician, so I can assure you that I see these type of things all the time. But I know the attention this week internationally and nationally has been on what's going on in the Middle East, which is, clearly a crisis and important. But I think that there may be many people that might have missed something that I thought was quite interesting, and that was that the International Olympic Committee just announced that they were going to be picking the 2 sites in the next 2030 and 2034 Winter Olympics. And one of their problems in trying to figure out where they're going to put the Olympics is the fact that at this point, because of global warming and the effects that that's had on the planet, As of 2030 and 2034, there's only 15 cities in the entire world, on 3 different continents for which they could pick a site for the Winter Olympics. And by 2040, that'll be down to 10. And where the efforts has always been to try to rotate that around to different places, by 2040, they expect that it's basically going to be rotated between 3 or 4 different sites, and that's going to be it, because there will be no place on the planet where they could effectively run the Winter Olympics. That tells you where we are right now. And I think it puts a punctuation point on why this topic is your generation's issue. And there are many, many, many social changes that occurred in world history, and you probably study them in school. Almost every one of them was done and fueled by the efforts and the energy of youth. Whether you're talking about gay rights movement, women's movement, civil rights movement, women's suffrage, every one of them was done by the youth because they recognized that it affected them the most. And so this is your fight. It will help you, but what I'm hoping to talk about a little bit today is about how you can make that happen. Because the planet is all of ours. Arun just spoke about that earlier. That's what we give to our children. There is a saying in among Jews, and I know there's many other religions and ethnic groups that say something similar, but it's called tikkun olam. Your mission in life is to hand to the next generation a world that was better than the way you found it. It's your obligation to repair it. And if we could all do that from generation to generation, the world would be a great place. So that's our mission. And I know there's other religions and ethnic groups that might not call it that, but it's basically the same thing. So there's ways that you could go about doing that, and it starts right here. I think the first thing, by having groups like this who really, leaders like you, who really understand the facts, there can be absolutely no substitute for doing your homework. You just have to know your facts. And while the professor before you mentioned that you need to do that as well, and he wanted to prove his sources, got to be careful with that, right? Is your source ChatGPT? Is your source some organization that has a ulterior motive? You got to check your sources. I heard that all throughout COVID. Fortunately, being a physician and a mayor during a health crisis was a benefit. I had people sending me letters all the time, quoting me all the reasons why vaccines and why masks and all these other things don't work. And they downloaded them from the most god-awful places. But they did their research. It's just shitty research. So you have to know where your sources are coming from and that they're viable. We had a whole discussion about the use of fluoridation in water. And people brought up, oh, I got my research from the Fluoride Action Network. Do you know who runs the Fluoride Action Network? 3 people, a husband, a wife, and the son, and they derive all of their income from the money that's given to that fund. And you have to know that stuff. You have to not just pick up something to fill up your bibliography. You have to research who the people are that's giving you the information so you can validate that it's accurate research. And we live in a world where it is so easy to get information, but you have to be the arbiter of that information and make sure that it's coming from valid sources. So to just point up to a chart, and I'm sure his sources were very good, but the point I'm getting to is that to just point to somebody, I did my research, it's validated, I read it in a study. There's zillions of studies. About that portion of them are actually good studies. So there's no substitute for knowing your information and your facts. And that starts at a very young age, and it's a skill you're going to need the rest of your life. But there's things you could do in your own community that can help actually on this topic alone. And there are groups in almost every town that's responsible for the maintenance and management of your water systems, your sewer systems. And they have committees that are open to the public for them to be part of. There's planning and zoning boards that are responsible for mapping out the building and the development of your community. There's committees such as an environmental commission in almost every town. It's a requirement because in order to do building and zoning, your town's environmental commission has to opine on the effect that any of that building's going to have on the environment. So those are open spots to the public. You could be part of that. In East Brunswick, we actually have a offshoot of the environmental commission called the Sustainability Committee. That group identifies projects that we could be doing in town that meet some of the objectives that you're looking for when it comes to sustainability. We have a group that one year they decided to help ban plastic water bottles, and they've been pretty effective at doing that. They were doing plastic bag requirements before the state of New Jersey put it in as a requirement for the state. We had one in East Brunswick. The requirement, of course, as the state is that you can't have one that's more restrictive than the state's. Ours would have been more restrictive than the state's. We would have included styrofoam and a bunch of other things that we would have liked in the bill. It's not in the bill, and the bill says that you can't have a public local policy that's more restrictive than the state's. But we're getting there. We put in requirements about electric charging stations. Any application that comes to a planning or zoning board that requires a new building or a renovation of an old building, our town had requirements for electric charging stations before the state of New Jersey put that in place. We've been working on changing all the lead pipes in town because we recognize that that's a problem. New Jersey's not a new state. A lot of the building was done many years ago, and if there's certain buildings that were built between very specific years, we know that a lot of the lines that went from the public water service to your home have lead-based lines. So we're out there trying to replace all of them. That's actually what one of the purposes of the infrastructure bill that was passed under President Biden is meant to allocate funds to do that. So you can be on every one of those committees. There's absolutely no reason why it has to be people that are specialists in those fields. We want to hear from you. So you can have an immediate impact if you choose to do that. And then that, of course, gets you opportunities to talk to people who are experts in things that you're now learning about. And then I know that everybody loves to put down politicians. I get it. You know, right now we've already been told from both the Republican and the Democratic counties that the election this year is going to be the lowest turnout, that people are just fed up with politics in general. They're sick of turning on the news, no matter which party, and I get that because they're just fighting with one another and becoming completely ineffective, and I get that. And they also say that the youth is a lot smarter. They're not picking parties, they're picking issues, which is really what you should be doing. And this is your issue. So if you really want to see change, you could either make sure that you get behind supporting people that think the way you do and vote, because still at the end of the day, the people in these positions are the ones that are making those decisions. So we're what? We're a democratic representative government. We're supposed to represent the people that put people in office. If they don't represent your views, then I think you need to elect someone else. You know, and I don't care what political party it is, you elect the people that represent you. That's what this is supposed to be about. Or you run yourselves. There's no law that says, you know, we know what the age limits are to run. And while I may not be a fan of people that are one-issue candidates, I think that if you're running to be a candidate, you should represent the people and understand multiple issues. But if this is an issue that you're that passionate about, and you get yourself involved in government and in decision-making, then run. There's no law against that. You could be the change, but you make it happen. So there's a lot of opportunities, I think, for your age group to get involved in making the changes that you would actually like to see enacted. But it just takes maybe a little nudge, a little pressure to do that. But there are many people that have, and I don't see any reason why any one of you in this room can't be one of them. So I'm not going to take up too much airtime. If there's any questions or issues or want to know things that we're doing in our town that maybe is not being done in yours, and ways in which you can go about advocating for those type of groups, more than happy to have you do that. But don't just sit back and be a bystander, as they say. You need to be part of that change, and I think your starting out here is an example of the fact that you can do that.
So, a comment and then elaboration of what you just mentioned. The 2 points which Mayor mentioned, one is about the sources of information, which is wonderful because I wrote a lot of white papers when I did my master's in political science, and we need to give a big bibliography, which is a list of all the sources you got the information from. So always make sure the sources are authentic, valid, and widely accepted, right? Only then we can take information, because Google is not always right. Now with ChatGPT, it got, I think, a little worse because there's no way to authenticate, right? So that's number one. Number two, what he said is right. Focus on people, not the party. I always look at people and their issues. Sometimes I get in trouble for being bipartisan. People don't like it, but I don't care. I think people are more important, and their issues and what they stand for, regardless of which side, red or blue, and I appreciate that. And the last, this is my request, Brad. If anyone is from East Brunswick, if they want to be part of the Sustainable Comedy Youth, are they welcome to talk
Sure.
to you?
Sure, and I think that it would be probably a good idea to look in your own town. Everyone has environmental commissions, everybody has planning and zoning boards, they all do. You could argue whether that's effective use of people's time, right? There's other states that do it by county. New Jersey has almost 600 different towns, which means that you have 600 different local governments and 600 different local planning and zoning boards, and that sometimes causes problems too. But the fact is that the mechanism is at your fingertips. You just have to utilize it.
Yep, my same comment extends to other towns or townships as well. We have some people from South River as well today. In fact, I attended their meeting the day before yesterday. I walk my talk. I attended physically in the borough of South River 3 days ago, their environmental commission meeting. I spoke with them. I'm trying to establish contacts, not so much for me, but for youth who are interested. So anybody in and around South River, let me know. I'll put you in touch with those guys. And of course, I know Brad. He can run, but he can't hide from me. So yeah, that's it. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if this is a valid question, but is it possible to work with other towns if you live in another one? Because I feel like it's easier to work with a town that already has an established committee for it and then network that to your town. Like how people do in high school when you have a club, sometimes with your home high school, if you go to private or magnet school, you work with your home high school and then you try establishing it at your.
I have an answer, but I'll let Mr. Mayor answer that.
It depends on the committee. Our sustainability committee is open to anybody, so we've had people from outside of East Brunswick that are on it. Certain positions on land use boards where you have to be a member of the township, that's actually a requirement by code. I can't even run for mayor in another town other than my own. I can't sit on the zoning board or planning board or board of education unless you live in that town. But some of these other committees, such as these sustainability committees, those are the type of things that often people like having people from outside of the township, because expertise isn't always just in one place.
Also, another thing is for these committees, especially since we're recognizing the fact that these things are affecting more of the future generations and the youth, do they have any youth outreach, or is it more of just internships, or is it a youth outreach thing?
Well,
Council,
almost
right?
every committee in town has spots that you could be part of. I think sometimes they don't go overboard trying to fill them. We do, we make an effort because I think it's important to hear from youth. We want a representative on our zoning board and planning board. They may not be able to vote, but you can have their representative. Board of Education, every year has a new representative. So they want to get the opinions from people who are younger. Our Human Relations Council, when it talks about diversity of township, we always have student representatives. They may not always be able to vote, but that doesn't mean that we don't want their participation.
They'll be able to vote, exactly.
Correct.
So they're interested in youth outreach, basically.
Yes, but sometimes the youth have to make that happen. You
Yeah,
gotta
of
remind
course.
us
Yeah,
that,
you need to do
don't forget us.
Yep.
And I think once you do that, The problem that I think most stodgy older people in office have had is that what they find is that the youth are engaged and interested, but then you graduate and you're off to college and then you're not here any longer. And so it's this constant change that happens and often if there isn't enough people who are in that group that are interested, it drops off for a while, so you'll go for years where there isn't somebody, and then all of a sudden a group of students are motivated, and then we have a student for a year. Yeah. And that I think you can combat that, but that also requires a lot of motivation on student part as well.
Yeah, I think there's a distinct difference between a student who's interested because they're in high school and they don't have a lot going on, but then there's students like for one, I know I'm someone who wants to do something like that. I've always been interested in relations, public relations and international relations, and working with societal issues and stuff like that. I want to study law and all that. I have a passion in this stuff, and I have been dedicating my middle school and my high school career to focusing on this stuff because I know it's something I want to do in the future, and I'm
That's
getting a
good.
good start on it.
That's great. You need to motivate more people to do that as well.
And when you go to college, make sure that you have people from your high schools continue.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't actually think that, I know this is going to come out of left field, I almost don't think it matters what field you go into,
Yeah.
whether it's law or social services. Right. Every one of us could find a way in which we can give back to our community, no matter what field you go into. I'm a physician. Nobody in the world thought that a physician's going to have time to go into public service. What do I even want to do that? How would I have the time? How is it the interest there? Well, I think one, physicians are trained in a way that allows us to understand people. When you come to interacting in a personal relationship, you have to learn something about people. So you talk to people all day long. So I don't need the Middlesex Democratic Organization to run a poll to tell me what people are thinking. I talk to them every day. I don't need the poll. You could save all that money. I think that we're learned as physicians to handle emergencies and not get worked up. How would you like it if your surgeon got worked up every time he had to operate on you? That's not the surgeon I think you want. So I think that whether it's people that are in law, there's always, if you have a passion for something, no matter what field you go into, you could take part of what you're learning and utilize every day in that field and do that to help other people's lives.
And that's a great, I was talking to her, Brad, before in the breakfast room, and she has interest in geopolitics, international relations, things like that. We're talking about, imagine this, I was talking to 16-year-old student about Israel, Palestine, Gaza Strip, the 8 decades of war. With a 16-year-old adult, I was having a student, I was having this conversation, so you can imagine how deeply emotional, opinionated. And I said, like I promised, I said, bring other like-minded individuals of your age group, and I will give you a platform. I have a media background, I used to work at a talk show host. A lot of state chairs, congressmen, they all came on the show. You guys bring like-minded individuals of your age group, I'll put you right in the media and television, live. All right, so Mayor is right. So we need people like that, right? So it's not just 40, 50-year-old veterans. We also need youth, because they might have some fresh ideas. You never know, right, Graham?
Fresh ideas that you look at the world a little bit differently, and I think that we all have to recognize over time we're not going to be here forever. At some point we do want to pass it on to you, and I don't want you to mess it up the way some of us have done it. So maybe we will need you to fix it, but that means, again, you need to know your facts, you need to know history, and bring that plus your outlook on the world to solve problems. And be an innovator. Think outside of the box sometimes. Just because everybody's fixed the problem with these tools this way, the greatest innovative countries in the world don't think that way. They think outside of the box. One of our problems in COVID as Americans is that that's our mentality. We're innovators. We're generally not rule followers. It's allowed us to be one of the most innovative countries in the world because we've come up with some miraculous type of innovations that other countries, they may have perfected what we've discovered, but we've discovered them. It didn't make us really good rule followers during COVID, and that didn't help us. But I think that's part of our DNA as a country. But I think that's a good thing. So thinking outside of the box is usually how we solve problems.
Right. I'm gonna pick out 2 names because you guys should not ask any questions. No, not you. I want these guys to ask questions. Okay, I'll let them ask. You guys think of a question. Go ahead.
Okay. So I don't know if I can top that question that she kind of asked, like
Okay.
Harry Potter, but I was gonna actually ask. This is, I know, a bit of a weird question, but where do you see South River moving in the future? Do you see like urbanizing and growing to maybe like a city center? Do you see around this size, but like just getting greener,
FYI, East Brunswick, but he's knowledgeable enough to answer. She'll answer that question, but we can still answer.
I'm so sorry.
I think that one of the problems, and I alluded to it before in New Jersey, is that we often look at each town and each city or borough or whatever, there's a bunch of different forms of municipalities in the state as independent of one another, little fiefdoms. That's a problem. And I get why people like that. They like to have local control of their own little area. But if you really want to compete on a global scale and to be able to be the type of what I think our potential is. Did I run out of time? Game show?
No, we're not.
It's a debate. They're going to put up the 20 seconds left.
What's fun?
No,
It's a call that was on there.
Oh, okay. All right, okay.
I think that's one of our problems, is that if we really want to look at the world and this area from the 40,000 foot view, we got to stop looking at it as individual towns and look at it more as a region. I think that look at what the benefits that you have in Middlesex County alone. We sit literally equal distance between Philadelphia and New York. We have an international airport within 30 minutes of where we're standing right now. You've got university in your backyard. You've got a workforce that's primarily composed of people in IT, finance, healthcare, the type of industries that most of these large major companies, whether they're in the United States or international, looking for a spot in the United States, this is the workforce that they're looking for, lives right here. So and that's honestly for most big businesses their most important concern. They don't want to move to a place where they have to move and find people from around the world to come here. They would rather be in a place where it's very easy to find the workforce, which is today based on being educationally well-trained. I could go on and on with all of the benefits to living here, despite all the whining that people have about traffic and nuisance stuff. But not any one town can ever do it by themselves, right?
Yeah. So then I actually do have a question, because that was my fault on earlier, but then since you're the mayor of East Brunswick, do you see, because as far as I remember correctly, New Jersey's trying to build a larger rail network now, expand on
A larger what?
rail network now, like an interstate rail network, right? Like with trains and everything?
A rail, oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Rail network. So then do you see East Brunswick integrating more deeply with that?
I think that I honestly think that if we play our cards right as a region, that the Silicon Valley out in California, which is not one town, right? It's a bunch of towns. I think that's what we could be in the Raritan Valley. Each town has its pluses and minuses. Some are closer to rail lines, some are closer to bus lines. Some are more rural, some are more industrial, some are more located right close to the highways, some are a little bit away from it. But if you look at it in its totality and stop thinking about each one town, if we pool our resources, I think that we have an opportunity that we would be foolish to pass up on. When Amazon a couple of years ago was looking for a second headquarters, if you look, you could Google it right now if you want to, you look at the RFP, the request for proposals, they were looking for towns that had all the things that we have right here. And the only town in this region that applied for it was New Brunswick. It's great, they have a lot of good things. They've got certainly the workforce, they've got the university, healthcare in their backyard, they've got all of that. Try driving in and out of New Brunswick, it's a nightmare, there's no place to park. Like, if you look and just spread the map a little bit wider, you would see that as a region, whether it's South River or East Brunswick or Metuchen and Edison, but combined, there is everything that you could find in Silicon Valley, you could find here and better. So I think that we just have to stop looking at each town by itself and start to work together. Something we don't always do, but if we did that, I think the Pandora's box of opportunity would open.
I said that statement deserves an applause. Especially the and better part, because I lived in Silicon Valley myself, so I can relate to that. So, yeah, great comment. Great question, great answer.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on the lead pipe issue and what's been done to stop it?
So the questions about the lead pipes, and I forget the exact years that homes were built, but lead service lines were standard when it came to how the water came from the main line in the street, that they're what we call the main water line, or the service line from the street, which is under your municipality's control. Once it goes into your house, it usually was done by the builder, and maintenance of that line is a homeowner responsibility, not the state, not the township. So that's the first question we ask when there's a pipe that breaks. Is it the line that's coming to your house from the street? That's a town responsibility. We've fixed those pipes for a long time. Almost all of them are mostly PVC now, but there's really no lead in those lines. What we're still dealing with are homes that were built within a very specific time frame, that the service line from the township to your personal home was made with lead service lines. And those we look vigorously to replace all those. And instantly, we also, as a regular basis, the water that comes to the township that we sell to you is tested for lead. But it varies. I know what's being delivered from the township to your home. What I don't know is what's happening once it reaches that service line and then comes to your home. That's the part that varies. We have very specific regulations on the lead content from the water that we sell. And East Brunswick actually buys its water from Middlesex Water. And then we service our own town, plus South River, Spotswood, and Helmetta. We sell it to those towns as well. So we're required to provide to homeowners every year the testing that we do of the water for not only lead, but a whole bunch of other chemicals and toxins. And of course, the new one is the PFOAs, all of that, and the chemical that's in Teflon. That's a big deal that has to be tested for now as well. Every time we do more testing, what happens to your water bill? It goes up, right? So stringent, whether it's that, stormwater regulations in the state, wetlands, building in the state, all of that is much higher level of supervision than in many other states. And just case in point, what happened in Texas a couple of years ago with their infrastructure for the electricity and their whole network, there's no regulation there at all. So we could argue regulation, no regulation, probably the world lives somewhere in the middle. But when it comes to our environmental standards here in New Jersey, they're actually pretty high.
I agree with that. We at DEP in New Jersey doing a great job. In fact, I met Commissioner Sean LaTourette day before yesterday, Friday evening, representing Lead Foundation, and appreciate all the work the DEP was doing. To comment on what Mayor was saying, I took a screenshot in that group of the annual water quality thing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
remember?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so that is a screenshot from the annual report we get, for your preparation. That is what Mayor was referring to. that's once a year, right, if I'm not wrong?
So you're required by law in the state of New Jersey, whoever, it's the township's required
Yep.
to give you that water quality report
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
So you have the opportunity. We also have, again, getting back to committees, a water policy committee. And there's positions in virtually every town, to be on those committees. And it might seem boring, but I actually kind of think the whole thing's kind of fascinating about how the infrastructure and the system works for providing water. It's quite complicated, and anybody with a little bit of a science background would probably find it fascinating, so.
On that topic, yeah, I definitely urge you then to like really listen to our panel. We're talking all about it, and especially like with the whole youth outreach.
In half
And
hour?
Yeah,
Yeah, in half hour, yeah.
yeah, and we discussed, like, I really think that you would have a lot of questions about what we have to say. We like go really in depth onto the water resources and efficiency.
Look at that, single citizen.
No, I'm like urging
I like
it.
that, I like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Like, I really think it would be really
I would
important.
preface the
especially
word
to-
urge with strongly urge.
Strongly urge, and I think it would be really good, especially to get like an influence from someone like you, like a mayor.
I wish I could stay.
In the future.
In the future, if I knew a little bit more of that, I had to, could reserve the whole day, I would have done it, but I
Yeah,
can't.
no, I have appreciate. We have people from, thank you, we have people from South River, so,
Oh, that's
yeah, so we got targets, potential targets. So,
And on the flip side of the water side is the sewer system. I mean, I know it sounds like something that, oh, why would I be interested in it? But how you get rid of waste is also quite fascinating. And just as an example, on the topic of water, and since Israel's in the news these days, not really for something that we're very
something
happy
we're
about.
proud of, yeah.
But necessity is the mother of invention. Where do you think that the most innovative water technology is going to come from? Not from a place that's teeming with water. It's going to be from a desert which has none.
Desalination.
They were the first country to figure out how to desalinize water. Their technology is being used in San Diego right now to do that for a lot of the water problem in the Southwest. They've basically figured out a way of taking wastewater and by recycling it, clarifying it, and it's basically 99% pure. It's more pure than the water we get right now, and that just comes out of sewage. And they've got technology, and there's a company, you could look it up, called WaterGen. It looks almost like a Poland Springs water base, but there's no water there. They actually, put a cup there and you hit a button, and it basically takes from the condensation in the air and just fills up the cup of water right in front of you. Again, necessity is the mother of invention. They've had to figure out how to survive in a desert which has no water sparsity. The whole mentality there, and for most of the Middle East, is you don't waste something that's that precious. Wars were fought and won and lost over water.
Yes.
The fall of Jerusalem in the year 70 was based on the fact that the Romans were able to figure out how to get to the water supply. They didn't have, F-52s. They didn't have any of that stuff. So it's all about the water. And we need to take lessons where we can get them.
Yeah, in states within India, there's always constant tussle between states in India about, depending on which is an upper riparian state, lower riparian state, who gets how many million cubic whatever stuff of water. There's always constant tussle.
Yeah.
So water.
There's more demand than supply.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Water is life. So guess what they're looking for in other planets? Water.
Right.
They're going to asteroids now. Asteroids, they're trying to extract water from asteroids so they can use them as pit stops. You're not talking about that they're in the air, right, in space. So yeah,
The distribution, like, it's so skewed in the Indian subcontinent right now. Like, everyone's on a brink of a humanitarian crisis. It's honestly disheartening.
It is, and we could do better.
Yeah, on the condensation topic though, like for Israel, Dubai has a similar technology they use because it's also a desert area where they have to induce rain in order to get their water. I think that always interested me, like the technology, it's come so far.
Right. Well, they also developed drip technology for planting and for growth in field. How did you get all this fruit and vegetables out of a desert? And they do it using less water than we do here. And it's not really technical, it's pretty straightforward. But these are the things that we need to do across the planet if we're really going to be serious about trying to save lives and promote lives. It's embarrassing that there's parts of the world that are so lucky that you have all these resources at your disposal, and yet there's others that have none of it. And how we could equitably work to help those that are far more unfortunate, that's what you guys gotta figure out.
Yeah, like lastly, I just think it's really important, especially for America, such a large power, to not be complicit and oversimplify the situations. At the end of the day, it's not like innovation's a super complex task. It's more about financially supporting innovation. India has arguably a better climate than Dubai and Israel for producing water, but because their GDP isn't as high as Dubai, or like Israel's funded like by America and like other countries, it's easier for them to have access to and be able to do that stuff, where India, like I said, they're on the brink of a humanitarian crisis. Like, they can't get enough food around, they can't get enough water. We're basically through with the pandemic. It's not really affecting us that anymore, but there's still millions dying every day in India because of the pandemic. It's in Pakistan, Kashmir, everywhere, like the entire subcontinent, and same with like sub-Saharan Africa, mostly overall. Like, I think it's really important to recognize that they just don't have those resources, so that's where we come into play, especially future generations, to be able to reach our hands out and help them in their times of need.
That's exactly right, and we got to do it for the right reasons, because what ends up happening is that big superpowers sort of divide up those areas and they give, but they're not giving without an ulterior motive.
It's like controlling.
And we need to try to get away from that and to do the right thing, because it's just the right thing to do.
Exactly.
So one last question to Mayor. This is legislative in nature. I'm going to talk to my senator friends as well. So is it possible, like many libraries and many township administrative buildings in our state, there are these, motion-led, what do you call them, touch-free water dispensers. Yeah, thank you. So is it possible to mandate that in at least one in every township/municipal library or buildings? Is it possible to do that?
I think anything's possible.
Yeah.
You know? I think all of these things are possible, you just have to figure out how you're going to pay for it.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
That's something I don't have.
There's a lot of things that I want to do in town. There's a lot of things that people tell me, oh, I want the roads all fixed, or I want more money going to schools, or I want the library made bigger. Everybody, if they got their, it sounds by itself, which I'm sure you see in even as council members, if you wanted to do every one of those things, the dollar figure probably isn't that great.
Nice.
Oh, it's only going to be $30 more a year in taxes. What's that? Well, that's probably nothing, but if I did what everybody wants to do and multiplied that 30 times the 50,000 people that live in East Brunswick, and then send you the tax bill for that, I don't even want to be in the same state when you open that up, because they're all going to shoot darts at me. So the hard part as leaders is trying to look at all these great ideas and to do all the things that people say and prioritize them like you would your home. You probably got a lot of things you want to do in your home, but there's no way you have enough money to do all of it at once, so you prioritize. And that's exactly what we do here. And some people are going to be happy with my decision because it's my priority was theirs, and others may not, because it's a great idea, but it's kind of over here and not quite there yet. And that's the hard part, because there's only so much you could pay for, and maybe we need to figure out how to make it less expensive. Right?
Like the issue with funding other countries is that there's going to be a whole side of people, actually a majority of the country is not going to want to pay extra tax dollars for something that virtually does not affect us, even though it should be done in the morality of our own good. But it's like some countries, like some citizens can argue, oh, well, we don't know those citizens, it's not affecting us. why should we be paying extra taxes? Like, people already
You're
do
right.
that in our own country between other states.
Look
where
at the
it's like-
pharmaceutical
Exactly.
industry. We spend an enormous amount of money that's funded by Americans to invent and come up with new medicines. The cost of a new medicine is extraordinarily expensive. For every 100 things being tested, only one will probably ever get approved, and the approval process is ridiculously expensive. You pay for that in the ridiculous amount of money that you pay for medications here, but then we sell it overseas at less money because they can't possibly afford to get it. And as a country that believes in trying to help others, we don't want to not allow other places to have the benefits of the great innovations, but the Americans are paying for that. And you listen to your parents whine and complain about their drug costs, and then see that they can get that we're selling it overseas for less. It makes them unbelievably angry. But that's just one industry where that happens all the time.
Yeah.
We need to figure out how to do the right thing and be able to figure out how to do that in a way that doesn't break the bank or make people here feel like we're paying for everything. New Jersey residents pay one of the highest amount of taxes into the federal government, and we only get out of it 70% of what we put in. So all the farmers and all the people in the other parts of the country are getting basically a larger percentage of our tax dollars. And then when things like Sandy occur, which was, I'm sure, a long time ago for you guys, but all of a sudden Congress didn't want to approve all the money to help New Jersey, and yet at the same time, they take the bulk of the money and give it to other states. Is that really fair? So, I mean, these are the things that we have to wrestle with. It's not always going to be fair.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to get political, but when the East Brunswick Administrative Office approved the hockey rink, I went around and advocated for that because I really liked their decision. So some people got upset with me. But I thought that was right. I mean, I was not kowtowing anybody, but I thought that was the right thing for township. But he's right, people do get upset, and ultimately, it's not us, but it's, well, we do, but more directly, it's the elected officials who pay the price.
Yeah.
Because we vote for them.
I
right?
think this is exactly where we come into play, because at this point then, it's our responsibility to be raising money and funds for the causes we like full-heartedly believe in. Especially with the whole tax dollar situation, like for me personally, like my Model UN Club, I'm an officer for it, and we have a new subcommittee, which is like a multicultural subcommittee. And what we did was last year we had like a bake sale where we sold money, and then the money went to like underfunded communities or like areas like in other countries that are struggling. Like that's the way we were supporting them. And I feel like that way everyone stays happy. I think that the government should take a part in it, but until we figure out an efficient way to do it, I think that's exactly where our head should be at.
Yes, and figuring out how to fund it in other ways is a great way of doing it. Yeah. Well, I thank everybody for the time and the respect that you showed me today.
I'd like to invite the team to honor Mayor Cohen. Hello everyone, welcome to Lead Foundation Global. My name is Sophia Santiago, and today I'm here with Arush Ahmad. Arush, what are your thoughts on clean water?
Well, as chairperson of the Clean Water Panel, I think that it's really important to acknowledge the fight for clean water and the fact that it's not accessible to all.
Yeah. So Arush, as a young woman like you are, I think the effects of clean water is on the younger community.
Well, I think we all acknowledge the physical effects of clean water and how it's important for sanitation and, you know, for cooking, for agriculture and whatnot. But I think it's also important to acknowledge the mental factors of water. And in areas where there's not clean water, like sub-Saharan Africa or Flint, Michigan, there's a huge mental health crisis going on in the area as well.
Although you're just a 16-year-old girl, if you were the mayor of South River, how would you solve their clean water crisis?
I honestly think it's not only in the hands of the government. I think that youth have a huge part in it. Like we were discussing before with the mayors, tax dollars cannot be our only source because, as we know, that was very governmentally controversial. I think that it's up to the youth to come up together and raise money and raise awareness about the issues.
Great point you had there. Thank you, Arush, for coming today.
Daniel, I understand you were talking about water sustainability. What do you think is the direct impacts of water sustainability here in New Jersey?
I like water.
Leaving Neil?
Great choice.
Neil, you leaving?
Could I get more water?
Here you go. Okay, stop.
You're a magician.
Okay.
Go ahead, I'll quickly refresh the moment, be back in 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you everyone. We love water. We're gonna give more water. We're gonna flood all the land in the world so that everyone has water.
Crazy moments in politics. Okay, next we have Siddhi Ayagari. Come on, Siddhi. Come up here. So, Siddhi, I understand you're speaking about water efficiency. What are your direct thoughts on water efficiency here in America?
Water efficiency is something that's very underrated, and people don't really realize the effects of the water and how it impacts them in their daily life, so it's something more people need to focus on.
What exactly do you think people need to know more about in regards to water efficiency?
I feel like they need to know, even if it doesn't direct them, doesn't direct them like first, but I think they also need to know how over a long term it can affect them and how it's going to have negative effects just not only for them but the people around them and the world they live in and the future generations.
Wow, Siddhi Ayagari, everyone, an impressive voice.
Thank you.
Okay, Nathan, I understand you're going to be speaking about water resources. What do you think is important that we know about water resources?
I think like every country has their own specific problems with water conservation, and we should focus on meeting each of their specific problems instead of just trying to just generalizing their problems into one. Like for example, in Asia, in Africa, there's a lot of water, but the problem is that they don't have the resources and the facilities to transfer that water to the population. And in places like Asia, they have water, but they also have a really high population. Like in India, where I think they have 4% of the world's water, but like they also have like 18% of the population, so they just don't have enough water. So if we focus on ways to like transfer water from continent to continent and country to country, we can maybe like optimize it. So then each problem is kind of fit.
How do you think we, the youth, should approach the problem?
By speaking about it.
Nathan Martin, everyone. Sophia, what do you think is one of our most pressing topics when it comes to clean water today?
Honestly, I feel like we, as a community, we don't really understand what's going on in these other countries that don't have water, and only a few people really care. So I think it's really important that we raise awareness so everyone truly understands what's going on.
You're an MC, which means that you probably do a lot of public speaking. How exactly do you want we, the youth, to approach this?
Well, that was a really good question, Arush. I think things like this, and honestly just speaking out on social media especially, I do believe that social media plays a huge role in politics, especially reaching out to the younger population.
Sophia Santiago, our MC.
No. This is just non-political, nothing. I just want.
Of course.
So you guys are doing this for fun, and you guys are doing it for knowledge and awareness and things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm running for state senate.
Oh wow.
In New Jersey, in this district. So if I win, I'll become a senator for South River, South Plainfield, Milltown, Metuchen, East Brunswick, and Edison.
Oh.
And Highland Park. So I would love to get to know what you guys want as you get older. This is great, this is a noble cause and things like that. How do you attract other like-minded people within your age group? Because not everyone has a passion project like this. You know, I know my son who's 15 years old can't think outside of basketball, right? So again, this is all questions that definitely need to happen so that we strive to get better as every generation replaces the old, right? So give me in a few words, how do you incentivize, how do you attract, and how do you gain traction for your project?
Well, I think that it's really important to acknowledge that these topics are honestly the basis for all that is living. Clean water, you cannot live without clean water. Like in areas where there is such a lack of accessibility to clean water, there's humanitarian crises, people are dying. It's a pressing issue, and there's very few acknowledging it in proportion to the people that are suffering and being oppressed by the issue. I think that the incentive is honestly a better future for our generation, and for generations to come. I mean, right now, your son may only be thinking about basketball, but how are you going to play basketball if in the future but when you're playing basketball, for example, it's a very physically pressing task. I know both of my brothers really enjoy playing basketball, him and I have an older brother as well. You get very dehydrated. What do you go for? You go for clean water. Luckily, we live in such fortunate communities where we don't have to think about that. When we go for a glass of clean water, we're like, oh, like I'm just dehydrated, I need water. In other areas like sub-Saharan Africa, Flint, Michigan, areas, even in South River, we're dealing with our own water issue. People can't just go for a glass of water without thinking about it twice. They have to think, is this smart? What should I stay dehydrated? Because if I drink this water, what's going to happen? Places like Flint, Michigan, you are drinking, for the most part, people were drinking lead-contaminated water. It's basically a carcinogen. Like, it's a pressing issue. You can't just think twice about it. So maybe someone can't think outside of the world of basketball, but that's because they are fortunate enough to do so. And I think I think you need to put yourself in the shoes of others. Me personally, I've always thought about it from that perspective. I grew up in a predominantly privileged town and I moved from a very diverse place from Old Bridge to a privileged town. So as an 8-year-old, I went from not even thinking about different diversity groups to dealing with a lot of backhanded and microaggressions as an elementary schooler. And that made me get thinking when I was literally, like I said, at 8 years old, and especially with the whole election that happened with Trump's first term, and then I was in 8th grade during the Biden and Trump election. So you really put yourself in the shoes of other people and what geopolitics is affecting and our current politics is affecting, and it makes you really feel for them. Like me personally, it's not even a political issue. Like I've never been a super political person. It's mostly of a morality issue, especially because that's what we were talking about being bipartisan and how our generation likes looking at issues more than parties. That's exactly how I think, because like George Washington said when he became president, the political party system is going to divide us. That's what it was made to do. It was made to divide us, and that's exactly how it works in countries, especially with imperialism happening back in the olden age and stuff. That's what really created parties. And even in a democratic system, the whole reason of democracy is for everyone to get their own voice in and to get their thoughts in. And honestly, I think that having a political system oversimplifies such moral issues. Why are we debating over factors that are determining people's lives? Especially with, for example, back in the women's suffrage movement, people were fighting for the ability for women to vote. That's insane for me to even grasp, because I grew up in a time where that wasn't. Obviously, I've always been super heavy on focusing on women's rights and empowerment, because with this whole preface that, oh yeah, women are equal to everyone now. I actually wrote an article about this recently in a journal. But there's this whole precept that, oh, if we get one woman at our board table, that's enough. We have our diversity. But that's not how it works. Maybe it creates healthy competition between women, but in the end, it's pushing the scarcity of places for women, even though we thought we were done with that. There's this precept. It's so harmful, even more harmful than it was when women couldn't even vote, because at least then it was a blatant issue. Everyone knew it, everyone recognized it, but now it is just hidden under a surface. So I think that it's, especially from my perspective, I grew up with so many things to look at, so many things for me to think about, and it just got me thinking about how other people have in other countries. In other countries, women still don't have those rights, and I think it's important to just put yourself in the shoes of other people at the end of the day.
What do you guys think? Same question. What do you guys think?
Hold on. That's the Harvard answer, and I love it. I really do, because it actually taught me something. But you still haven't gotten to where you're going to get your years.
Oh, I think.
And let me explain the reason I asked that. Because the Harvard option works for those that care.
Mm-hmm.
So, like my son, and I'm using him as a really poor example here, but he needs to be activated. And you have to be able to reach out to him and all the ones that are younger than him. That, like you said, and I love the word that you used, privileged. Because it is a privilege to live in a country, in a state where we are afforded, stuff where we don't even have to think about, like security, police, water, food, parents that provide for you, right? But take that away. What you're doing here in South River, how does that translate to a country where they don't have those same opportunities? And how do you get people from this country? Are you saying that we need to conserve water so that we can give more water to them? Because there's a lot of wastage, right?
Yeah.
So again, all of this stuff is like amazing, but you get a room full of 9th graders, 10th graders in
Yeah.
here, you lost them, you know, from like about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So I want to know, I love your answer, I really do. I want to know from here, why did this passion project ignite such a flame in you? Like, what is it that attracted you? I know that someone like Arun wasn't standing up there giving you, the Harvard answer. Something kicked in, and that's what is necessary to express to all of the people that are watching.
Okay, so actually I can speak about this because my brother went from someone who wasn't very aware and like didn't have much care for it for someone who's very passionate about it now. I think we live in an age of media, especially like digital media. You scroll on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, anything, you see what's going on in the world. And obviously algorithm doesn't work for the same for everyone, but I think it's good, even if someone doesn't care, I think it's good to just take some time and educate yourself, even if that's not a topic of your interest. Like, for example, my older brother, he never really had an interest in that stuff, but if you just take a little bit of time to look at a video, even, especially videos, in fact, because they show you truly what's going on, like videos of other countries, like especially with the conflicts going on at the moment, you see these videos. If you're human, you will feel something, even if it's not a topic of your interest. And we live in such a perfect age to be spreading awareness because we have all the platforms to do it. And I think that's really the way, like, Sophia and Daniel, for example, like these are both just two people that I brung. Like I know when I first met Sophia, like she wasn't really someone who was heavily political, and like with my influence over time, I've kind of like pushed her into that mindset. And Daniel, like with me, like showing him videos, showing him this. I think it's important for like-minded people like me to take that initiative and go out and like not force it onto people, but sort of educate your friends. I think if you truly care about something, that's morals at the end of the day. It's not politics, it's morals. I think that you will take the time out of your day to educate people, to let them know what's going on, and I'm sure that through that, they will start to care.
I think you hit it right on the head when you said educate your friends. Educating people doesn't work. You gotta educate your friends first.
Exactly.
You gotta get them to understand what you want and why you want it, why you're so passionate about it. But I'd like to hear from other people in the sense, what drives you? What drives you to come here on a Sunday?
The mic is open.
You want to answer now, or keep that question answered for 5 minutes? How do you want to do that? I want to make sure we don't cross out.
Oh no, I'll just answer like a minute or
Okay,
so.
that's fine, no problem. Okay.
I just want to help the people in the community, and like I have experience in like presenting about zero hunger, or like I do have some experience in like clean water and sanitation as well. And the thing is that I just don't want to see people suffering in the community, and I want to do this by making a small difference and then going on to bigger projects and bringing in other people.
Again, you hit it on the head. It's these little things that people like pick up on. Educate your friends, make a small difference. That's how it works. That's how we get these projects to better our communities, by education and making small differences. Sorry for taking up your time.
No.
I really think that this is something that the kids, because when I ask my son, when I ask my daughter, they can't articulate why they want to do something. But when I push them to ask those questions, why is it that you want to do this? Why are you fighting, a perception or a wall that's been put up? Right? First of all, why do we not have water around the world that's clean? Everybody has the technology to do it. Why don't we have it?
Okay, technology is there, but it's more about everything costs money at the end of the day. I think that these communities, it's not a coincidence that
Water should be the highest priority.
yeah,
As the mayor
water
said,
should be the highest priority, but like you were saying, not everyone cares, and some people don't care about spending those extra tax dollars just for that other countries that they have no relation to be getting clean water. As like disheartening as it is, people are like that at the end of the day. It's kind of just like the whole survival of the fittest sort of thing. Like people would rather stay in their luxury and their comfort and their entitlement that they're so used to rather than help others. And that's exactly what I'm trying to change. I want to be able to educate others, really show them what's going on. I mean, put yourself in that position. If that was happening to you, wouldn't you want someone with the ability, the platform, the resources to reach out and help you, or at least consider helping you? Like, I really think that's important to consider, which is why, like me, I've always been interested in fundraising and all that, because at least if we're not going to like advocate for tax dollars to go to it, I think that it's important to raise money on our own. If you get like-minded people alike, there's no telling what you guys can do.
I applaud all of you. I really do.
So what you could do is re-refer to his questions, and you can
we can
reignite. So you can always
we
say,
can go
you
through.
can always say, like one of the someone from the audience asked question on how technology relates to water, something like that, whatever he asked, and rephrase and question and then answer yourself.
Well, I know.
As part of the panel.
Yeah, I know we had 2 speakers first, so obviously they can go, and then we can do the panels. And during the Q&A session, we can refer back.
Yeah, and what you could do is, in the best interest of time, just for them, since we don't have very many people, you could, if that's okay with you guys, because I know you guys prepared, you can, you don't have to wait until the end to answer any questions. As they have questions, they can engage the audience.
Yeah, and of course, but I know like when we went through the panels, all the questions that have been asked have been addressed within the panel.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So first, I would like to invite Councilwoman Julie Marie of the Borough of South River.
Hi, everybody. My name is Julie Maida. I just want to give you a quick background about me. I'm a South River resident, born and raised my whole life. At the age of 18, I registered myself to vote, and I wanted to get more involved within the community. So I am Portuguese American. Both my parents are Portuguese. I'm first generation American. So one of the most important things my father wanted me to do is be able to give my voice and register and vote. I did it, I helped him as I was your age because my parents unfortunately didn't speak or understand that well English. So, when there's questions on our ballot and referendums and who's out there supporting your community, I was always able to help and translate with my parents on what to do. So when I turned 18, I got involved. We had a political action committee within the Portuguese American community, and my goal was to educate and inform our community, the Portuguese Americans, on how to improve or better South River. I was on the library board. I ran for council. I got up, and being a part of council, you are the liaison to a lot of commissions in town. There's the planning board, the Board of Education, the Environmental Commission. Zoning, but council members are not on zoning. One of the first commissions I was on was the Environmental Commission, and then we formed a green team. South River never had a green team until 2017, and that's when we conformed it. In the end, we kind of combined it with the Environmental Commission because they both want to better environmentally, so the green team and the Environmental Commission are together now. With the green team, we had to form it to become a part of Sustainable Jersey. I don't know if anybody knows about Sustainable Jersey. It's a big program in New Jersey that's trying to make every town sustainable.
That's by the state, right? Yep.
From the state. There's about 400 towns in New Jersey that are part of Sustainable Jersey. And you build points on trying to improve and sustain your own town. So with our green team, we also formed junior members. So kids from high school would join our team to be able to help us in any type of sustainability. We haven't reached, South River hasn't reached their requirements to get a certification for Sustainable Jersey, but every year we try to build because there's a certain amount of points that each town has to do it. Within Middlesex County, I believe Woodbridge is one of the biggest towns that really supports sustainability within their township. I encourage you all, I don't know what towns everybody's from. Anybody from South River?
Yeah, the couple of kids who were from South River, they dropped out last minute yesterday, but there were some from
Okay.
South River. Yeah.
Each one of your towns most likely has an environmental commission, and they're always working hard to be part of Sustainable Jersey. So I would definitely encourage you all to go and look on your borough website or your town website and try to get involved in that way. I love the way you guys really try to push within your community to get more involved. I know our high school has a Earth Club, and they try to do stuff within the community of the high school to improve things. I want to give an example of not too long ago, a few years ago. They noticed within the high school, you know, you go to get your lunches and you're required to get a fruit with your meals, right? And a lot of kids weren't eating their fruit, they were just throwing them out. So what did our Earth Club do? They started collecting all the fruit that nobody would eat during lunch, and then they would make pies and have a pie sale to be able to fundraise money within the school to be able to do programs. Last week, I wish we would have known this sooner. Last week, our Environmental Commission has had in their plans to put a rain garden within the town, and they were approved at the school, the high school. So last weekend, we had a bunch of volunteers and the Environmental Commission, and they started doing their rain garden within the high school. So there's a lot of things that you guys can really get your hands involved with within your community. I know we've been trying really hard to keep high school kids involved and be more informed. I've enjoyed being on the Environmental Commission because we've been fighting for tree planting. We're one of the towns in South River that don't have like an Arbor Day or, you know, invest in our trees. Our Environmental Commission has a tree fund, so every time a developer comes in and knocks those trees down, we want to replace them because flooding is always an issue, right? Especially in South River. So we try to build on that to continue to plant our trees, and we have so much benefit in having our trees, right? So I just want to say for you guys to continue to be involved and push for the things that you enjoy. These are some of the things that I enjoy, and I do it mostly to keep the kids informed, the residents informed, and really help improving our town. I know you guys, you live in a town, you might go to a school in a different town, but you're still invested in where you are. So it's always good to try to help in that way as well. I was wondering if you guys had any questions or?
The green team, is it like a thing where like multiple towns participate in it, or is it like a thing that's like only in South River?
No, so any town who is trying to be in Sustainable Jersey, one of their requirements in Sustainable Jersey to create points is to create a green team.
Okay.
So if your town is involved in, and you can look it up, if you go to Sustainable Jersey, you could see if your town is registered and becoming a part of Sustainable Jersey. And with that, they get money. They look for grants. They do all these things to be able to improve the environment. So look it up if your town has a green team, see if you can be involved. I know a lot of them require to have junior members as well. And you don't have to go to the school that, you know, that's in the town. If you live in the town, you can be a part of their green team as well. And there are school districts that do Sustainable Jersey as well because they get some funding for programs that they do.
I'm kind of rephrasing the same question, but how do you get more people to be interested in the community?
Well, within our town, we always try to look for the teachers that are involved with like the Earth Club or Environmental Club. Each town has different things with after-school clubs and programs within the school. So we always try to push out there our events. I don't know about where you guys are, but our South River District, they send out emails every week to all the parents, and we try to get all of our events on there. This year, the Environmental Commission did an Earth Day, which was kind of successful, but it was the first year, so we didn't get as many people as we wanted. Next year, we're already joining up with Saraville to see if we can get a bigger Earth Day that way, because the more help you have, the bigger community that comes, the more information you can put out there.
So Julie is both in the council, or I was going to say township, borough council, and also in the environmental commission. So if it's okay, Julie, I would like to involve my kids and any other volunteers as well. To be part of the Earth Day
Yes.
event. I think
So
that
it's
would be
on
great.
Earth Day, April, I
Yeah.
believe it's
I think so.
21st.
My school has a 4-H club, and they do like all that sustainable New Year's and stuff.
Yeah.
So I could definitely get the 4-H club involved.
Yeah, same goes to you guys too, your respective schools, talk to them, bring more kids. We'll work with municipalities like South River and any other towns as well. So, yeah, all right, please don't be
So
shy.
this year, we're starting off with joining with Saraville and South River. See what kind of events, maybe tables. I know last year what we did was we had certain tables to be able to educate people on recycling or repurposing things like we had rocks for kids to paint on and mugs to be repurposed as planters. We gave out tree seedlings. We gave education on rain barrel. So there's stuff like that. And then composting. I don't know if you know, the county gives a lot of information and even sell you compost bins so people can learn how to do that. Our town also has, we were able to set up a community garden. And with our community garden, we were able to get a master gardener from Rutgers to be able to help us start that up. And then that's where you learn about composting and rain barrels and being able to, you know, help out with conserving the water in other ways. So.
Right. So, yeah, if you have any questions, we can engage Julie as part of the conversation in the panel, because I know Peter also has to go, so I want to be.
Please, Mike, please. Yes. One more. One more. Wait.
All right. Well, this is a great program. Like we spoke about it prior. I'm pretty impressed with the crowd. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a South River resident, 50 years now going. I've held office for 4 terms as a councilman. I am running for mayor as we speak today. Julie's also running for re-election for council. I've been part of politics since my junior year in high school. I got onto the Municipal Alliance, and from there it escalated. Municipal Alliance was a group against alcohol, drugs. It was awareness. I was a kid. But as politics went on, as the years went on, I ended up getting onto different committees. Committees ranged from regular committee person, you're in charge of your own district, to planning board, economic development commission. I held every possible board. I've been on boards prior to council. Once I got onto the council, like Julie has mentioned, we hold liaison positions throughout the town, whether it's the Board of Education, library trustees, and we keep on going, keep on, adding to this town. But one thing I've learned is this: you got to start early, and you guys are. Don't lose sight of your direction of what exactly we want to do. And one of the things, the reason I'm telling you this is one of the things I got involved with growing into politics was I had the opportunity to get onto a company or a group called Helping Hands in New Jersey. Now, this was an awesome group. And the reason being is because it came right around Sandy when all these houses got devastated. I'm sure you guys don't remember that. But when Sandy came along, New Jersey got devastated. Like the mayor said previously, when we get hit with natural disasters, it's kind of sad because you're expecting the state, you expect the feds to help. It's not easy. It's not easy to get help the way you want to get it, especially when it comes down to New Jersey, New York. Perfect example of what happened with flooding. But it takes a lot, and it takes our youth to actually start that panel. Being part of the Helping Hands in New Jersey, we were able to bring aid to a lot of devastated homes, a lot of people that are homeless. And we continue till today, still doing just that. They are located down in Tabernacle, and listen, they're going strong. They've even gone as far as helping out New York, Texas, and they started small. I got onto the group. But keep in mind, just because I got into this one group, there's so many groups out there. There's so many organizations. So don't think that you should just limit yourself to one. Broaden your horizon. Now, when it comes down to helping out, you know what? Like Julie was saying earlier, Green Team. Green Team is a team that has been, we just started it, what, 3 or 4?
2017.
Yeah. All right, and who knew? You know what I'm saying? So you have the ability to start groups and run with it. Believe me when I tell you, you guys have the ability to do it. You know, so I really envy you guys for standing up, believing what you want to work on. The water, perfect example. Water is going to always be an issue throughout the whole entire country, throughout the whole entire state. Water is a high quality of, you know, top of the line. You know, it's precious. It's like gold. I hate to say it's like gold. I mean, we have a problem here in South River. You know, and it takes money. It takes a lot of money. I wish I could even express how much money it takes just to replace, or for that matter, rehabilitate. But we have to do it. There's no such thing as, you know what, we don't have the money. Find it. That's all I have to tell you. You have the ability to find organizations, programs that have it out there. It's there. Right now I'm working on 3 or 4 different grants, literally, all from the DEP.
Oh.
Mike Hollis is one of my guys.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you mentioned.
I just had a meeting with him last week. And he opened up a book full of all these grants to help little old South River. And trust me when I tell you, you can do it for your own town. So stay strong. That's all I'm going to tell you. Thanks for putting me on the spot. Arun is a great man, so but that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah. So since you're here anyway, since you're on the spot anyway, so I would like to request a favor from you, since you know Mike. So we would like to work with you. And
I would love to bring it. I'll bring it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much.
We've done a lot of talks throughout the state. One of our biggest talks we just did in the Pines Manor.
Oh, okay.
So Mike was there, Janelle was there, and the EPA showed up.
Okay.
We had a good discussion.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh yeah, we had probably a good 100 people.
Yeah, that would be fantastic for these kids, right? I mean, imagine these kids talking to the DEP folks.
The DEP
EPA folks. That's unimaginable.
Yeah, the DEP is not.
For their age, yeah.
They are very, and I'll tell you right now, they're not. I don't want to say they're nice, but they're tough when it comes down to the program that they're after. You could tell their love for the state. You could tell their love for the word safety.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not a joke. It's so.
Yeah, I was mentioning, I met Sean Latourette 2 days ago, literally Saturday actually, Friday evening, and he was very supportive of supporting
with the water
organizations, you know, who work on clean energy and clean. Right. So great. Now, see, you got so many contacts now, and South River Environmental Commission was also very receptive.
Right.
You know, when we proposed this and we were talking to them. Very receptive. You got, again, like I said, you don't have to think about the entire America. America's too big, right? Focus one town at a time.
You have to start
right?
small.
Yeah, one
You have
town
to
at a
start
time.
start
That's enough.
small.
Yeah, start small.
You're only going to make it bigger.
Exactly.
Listen, I started small, and I would have never thought I was going to run something this good. But who knows? It could get bigger. You never know.
All right, no questions for Peter because I know he has to run.
Any questions? Yeah, I got some more stuff.
Yeah, because he came back. He went out and came back again for us. So we'll be respectful of his time. So thank you, Peter.
If you have any questions, feel free to call me. He has my number.
Yep. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, yes.
All right, with Julie's permission, we'd like to involve her in an engaging conversation.
Of course.
And a question, hopefully more directed towards South River, and she's a lot more knowledgeable than that. But if it's more South River oriented, she could probably give you.
Is it fine, because of like the whole way we structure the panel with the intervals, that we finish like the portion that we're doing, and then we do questions after each portion?
Yeah.
Rather than like in between?
And it's okay with her.
Okay.
Just do whatever is natural, right? That's it.
Okay, so I want to just invite the panel speakers to the table. So Siddhi, Daniel, Nathan.
Yes, say their full names.
So this is Daniel Ahmad. He's going to be talking about water sustainability. Nathan Martin is going to be talking about water resources. And then Siddhi Ayagari is going to be talking about water efficiency. I'm going to be talking about global impacts as a whole. I'm chairperson for the Clean Water Panel. So I just want to say hello to honored guests and all those who honestly hold a deep reverence for life's most vital element. So I want to immerse ourselves in a journey that delves into the very heart of existence, the quest for clean water. In a world where the echoes of this invaluable resource resonate across continents, my panel aims to unveil its profound significance, the harrowing consequences of its absence, and the unyielding human spirit in the face of its scarcity. I want to start with a statistic. Did you know that over 2 billion people worldwide lack access to clean, safe water? And it's why we're here today to discuss the critical importance of clean water. For instance, in rural villages in sub-Saharan Africa, families still rely on contaminated water sources, leading to a vicious cycle of disease and poverty. We believe that the youth have the power to change the world, and one of the most pressing challenges that they face is ensuring clean water for ourselves and future generations. In places like Flint, Michigan, the shocking revelation of lead-contaminated water in the local supply exposed the profound implications of water quality on children's health and well-being. The resilience and activism of young individuals who emerge as advocates in response to these crises demonstrate the transformative potential of youth involvement. I want you all to picture a world where each droplet carries a narrative, where rivers murmur stories of resilience and aspiration. In the shadows of adversity, communities have risen like springs from arid land, demonstrating remarkable fortitude and solidarity. Consider the indigenous youth of Standing Rock, who through peaceful protests opposed a pipeline that threatened their water source and sacred land. Yet, let us not lose sight of the countless souls who still yearn for a taste of that pure, life-affirming elixir. In areas like Bangladesh, youth-driven initiatives have addressed the arsenic contamination crisis, highlighting the role of young people in securing clean water and a brighter future. As we convene today, let us be stirred not only by the urgency of this mission, but by also the tales of triumph and metamorphosis emerging from the depths of adversity. Now, without further ado, I want to introduce the esteemed panelists who will guide us through this powerful discussion about clean water's profound impact on our world. To start, now as we transition from my compelling stories and critical discussions surrounding the global water crises, I wanted to direct all your attention to another facet of this crucial issue, water efficiency. This topic delves into the innovative and practical solutions aimed at maximizing the use of this precious resource and ensures that every drop counts for a sustainable and water-secure future, which is going to be presented by my fellow panelist, Siddhi Ayagari.
Water efficiency is a huge part of clean water and sanitation because the way we use water determines how many people get it and who has access to it. So like they say, water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. This is a line from the Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Before we talk about water efficiency, here's some basic facts about governments and acts that have been made to help with water efficiency. One of them is the Clean Water Act of 1972. The Clean Water Act establishes the basic structure for regulating discharges of pollutants into the waters of the United States and regulating quality standards for surface waters. Another act that's been established is the Water Quality Act of 1987. This directs the states to establish numerical criteria based on the EPA, which regulates the standards and requirements for water, their national water criteria, and the toxic pollutants, which could have otherwise interfered with designated water uses. So, like other people have mentioned, clean water and sanitation is the 6th Sustainable Development Goal out of the 17 set forth by the United Nations. Sustainable Development Goals are 17 goals with 169 targets and 304 indicators, which was proposed by the United Nations in 2015 to be reached by 2030. So what is water efficiency? As a broader perspective, water efficiency is the practice of reducing the use of water by only using the amount required for specific things. It's using the right amount of water for the right things. So some basic facts to really give perspective on water efficiency is that about 71% of the earth is water, and about 50 to 60% of our human brain is water, which really shows how much we rely on water and how much not having it can impact us and our environment. 97% of the world's water is ocean water, but 2.5 is fresh water, but that is trapped in glaciers and the atmosphere, so it's not accessible, which leaves only 0.5% available as fresh water for other people and creatures to use. So why is water efficiency important? So one main topic is that it helps maintain our water resources at reasonable levels. It's important to make sure we have enough water for times of crisis such as droughts and where extra water will be needed. It also, as I've mentioned before, water is a necessary liquid for all humans, plants, animals, and the environment in general. So that having enough water and using our water efficiently keeps our environment safe and healthy. When reservoir water levels get lower, the health of living things deteriorate, and the environment can be at serious risk. Less water being wasted means that there's more water for other creatures and people to use. Not only does using water efficiently save water, it saves money as well. So now that we understand that water needs to be used efficiently, in order to do that successfully, we first need to understand where the water comes from and what its source is. So more to talk about this is Nathan.
So what are water resources? Water resources are where the availability of water and the places you can get it. So they're the lifeblood of our planet, sustaining ecosystem, nourishing communities, and fueling communities, managing it. Managing it is key to addressing today's challenges. One thing that a lot of people misinterpret about water resources is that it's not just one place you get water. There's multiple places you can get water. You can get it from under the ground, surface water, with rain, from the rain, or from glaciers. Another problem with water resources is that people generalize that all continents face the same issue, getting water and transferring it through the population. For example, places like Africa have an issue, have enough water, but they don't have the money or the resources to transmit that water. Places like Asia have a lot of water, but they also have a lot of people, and because of that, they just don't have enough water to transmit it. Places like Europe are probably a role model for how to conserve water and how to transmit it properly, as they have established committees like the European Union's Water Framework, which is a key framework that sets standards for water quality and conservation. They also enact strict laws to help preserve water, unlike other continents. Understanding the water's role and uniting to manage them wisely is fundamental for a more promising and secure future for all.
Next we have Daniel with water sustainability.
So, as my fellow panel speaker Nathan was talking about, the resources of water that we have in the world are very important, especially, fresh water, considering, we have oceans, we're not going to run out of that anytime soon. But something that we need to talk about is how are these resources going to last into the future? We talk about the resources we have now. We talk about, we'll use as little water as possible. But then how will they really carry on? I ask this because, for example, in India is one of the most populated countries in the world, with over 18% of the world's population. However, did you know that only around 4% of the world's freshwater reserves is contained within India? And this is rapidly depleting, as many farmers within India overuse a lot of the groundwater, which is the main source of freshwater in India, in a process called overdrafting. Although there has been programs in order to attempt to stop this, it has still been suffering somewhat, and has led to many of the droughts that India has experienced over years. But this doesn't mean that, as well, if you have more water reserves, you're just going to be fine. Well, look at Brazil. Brazil has one of the largest freshwater reserves in the world at 12%, yet it still can't get water to tens of millions of its own citizens. Now, why might that be? Well, there's mainly two reasons. The main reasons why is that many Brazilians live within Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, basically in cities that are far away from the freshwater reserves where you might be able to access fresh water. Additionally, The harsh jungle makes it hard to traverse through these environments, and the lack of safe and efficient trade routes prevents people from receiving these water supplements on time. There's also many different other situations, such as, for example, natural disasters, man-made disasters, and many other situations that make it hard for people to receive water. And due to our water reserves rapidly depleting, although we may be gaining a bit more water as global warming hits the world, it's not that useful. But I'll take it back to Arush, who can tell us ways we have improved it.
Clean water is undeniably one of life's most vital resources, as I stated before, and its significance goes far beyond quenching our thirst. It plays a multifaceted role in our daily lives and ensures that we can thrive, stay healthy, and maintain our communities. For example, consider the art of cooking, a practice that unites cultures, creates delicious meals, and sustains us. Whether it's boiling pasta, simmering a hearty stew, or washing vegetables, clean water is indispensable. Contaminated water can introduce harmful pathogens and pollutants into our food, posing health risks and compromising the quality and flavor of our meals. It's not about just preparing food, it's about preparing safe and nutritious food. Beyond the kitchen, sanitation practices are vital for maintaining personal and public hygiene. Proper sanitation, including hand washing, relies on clean water. The importance of this became glaringly evident during the COVID-19 pandemic, and adequate access to clean water was crucial to prevent the spread of the virus. Insufficient accesses to clean water for hand washing and clean living spaces can lead to waterborne diseases and hinder our ability to maintain hygiene, especially in healthcare settings. Our food supply too hinges on clean water. Agriculture, responsible for nourishing our communities, is heavily dependent on reliable water sources of clean water. It's not only about water that plants directly absorb, it's also about the water used for irrigation, pest control, and livestock care. Access to clean water ensures that these agricultural practices are effective and safe, which ultimately contributes to food security. An illustrative example of this multifaceted importance of clean water can be seen in the rice paddies of Southeast Asia. So rice is a staple food for billions, as we all probably know, and its cultivation requires extensive amounts of water. When clean water sources are available, rice paddies thrive, and the crop can be grown efficiently without excessive pesticide use. This in turn supports both food security and environmental sustainability. Access to clean water is not only about convenience, but it's a matter of life and death. The impact of clean water on public health cannot be overstated. For example, communities with reliable access to clean water experience a remarkable reduction in waterborne diseases. Cholera, dysentery, and typhoid fever are just a few examples that are common in areas where water sources are contaminated. However, when people have access to clean water, the incidence of these diseases can be reduced by up to 50%. This not only saves lives, but also reduces the burden on healthcare systems and associated economic costs. It's especially crucial for children who are more vulnerable to waterborne diseases. In regions with limited access to water, children under the age of 5 are disproportionately affected by diarrheal causes by contaminated water. Access to clean water can significantly reduce child mortality rates. For example, in sub-Saharan Africa, children often bear the brunt of waterborne diseases, and access to clean water can make a tremendous difference in child survival rates. We can look at the impact of clean water initiatives in countries like Haiti. By improving access to clean water and sanitation, organizations such as Water.org have significantly reduced the incidence of waterborne diseases and improved child health. It's not just a resource, it's a lifeline, especially for the most vulnerable members of our global community. It's a testament to the transformative power of ensuring clean water access, not only for individuals, but for entire communities and societies. Clean water is not merely a commodity, it is fundamentally a human right that can shape a healthier and more prosperous future for all. And more about water efficiency is Siddhi Ayagari.
When talking about water efficiency, it's important and actually necessary to talk about the rebound effect. The rebound effect is a phenomenon where the savings expected by using water efficiently are not completely reached due to the increased water demand. So now that we've discussed some problems related to water efficiency, what are some possible solutions? So number one are equipment upgrades. So it's important to replace old or broken equipment or get them repaired when they have been really used for a very long time. Due to the high usage and them being old, they can have many leaks and it can get rusty, which can not only ruin the quality of water, but also waste water and money. For an example, water-cooled ice makers use about 100 gallons of water to cool the condenser per 100 pounds of ice it produces. Then also uses another 80 to 90 gallons of water just to produce the ice. Ice machines that are 8 years old or over are most likely to be wasting a lot of water. This really gives an example of how water efficiency can be used in our daily lives. Another thing is leak detection. According to New York City's Department of Environmental Protection, even a small toilet leak can waste 30 gallons of water a day, while a medium leak can waste about 250 gallons of water, and a large leak can waste 4,000 gallons of water. This, money-wise, this can waste about 40 cents to up to over $55. This puts into perspective how much water is being wasted in our daily lives, and just doing a small thing like getting it fixed can help. Although effective leak detection requires constant surveillance, it's an important way to save water from being wasted and used effectively. Another thing is metering and submetering. Metering and submetering tracks water consumption and leak detection in both buildings that already exist and new buildings that are being made. Water submetering can give valuable nutrients information on cooling towers, irrigation, and hot water use. According to Bill Hoffman, the president of H.W. Hoffman and Associated LLC, water metering works best when it's incorporated into the building management system so that its data appears on the operator's dashboard with other facility data. This makes it easier and more likely for people to see the data and really understand how it's impacting them. Another option, which may not be as popular, is capturing rainwater. While capturing rainwater is a great alternative to municipal water use for irrigation and some other area uses, it requires research with local water development and environmental bureaus, which can explain why it's not a favorite option. Rainwater is suggested to be used for irrigation, but it can also be used for flushing toilets, but it's necessary that it's used for non-potable reasons to make sure everybody stays safe and healthy. Some requirements, however, to use captured rainwater include backflow installation and inspection, electrical permits for any installed pumps, and much more. One more option is gray water or reclaimed water use. So gray water is defined by California's Uniform Plumbing Code as untreated wastewater which has not come into contact with toilet waste. So every different federal government and state government has different requirements and regulations and definitions for what gray water is, which is another reason why many people don't like to use it. To effectively implement these ideas, knowing more about the sources of water would be helpful, which can be led by Nathan.
So we talked about the problems involving water resources and the multiple problems faced by specific countries and continents. But we haven't really discussed about the solutions for water resources and the issues of these countries face. Continents like Africa, while facing inadequate budgets and inadequate resources to help transfer the water, have initiated multiple initiatives, one being the African Water Vision 2025, which aims to improve water resource management and expand access to clean water and sanitation. This is one of the many examples that I'll be presenting that show countries forming alliances, continents forming alliances within themselves to further mitigate these issues. And another one, Asia, they formed the Mekong River Commission, which includes countries such as Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, and Vietnam, showing once again the cooperation that's needed to help solve the issues regarding water resources. Countries I already mentioned Europe, but want to reiterate, they enacted the European Union Water Frameworks Directive, which again just sets standards for water quality and conservation. They also enacted several laws on the population, such as ecosystem restoration and the promotion of green infrastructure to manage water sustainability. In North America, we obviously have a lot of abundant freshwater resources, as we kind of are a first world country in a sense, but we also experience things like droughts and competition for water across our states. The way our country has faced these issues has been, again, forming alliances with other countries such as Mexico and Canada, and sharing things like the Great Lakes or the Colorado River Basin. So, we've talked about the effects that what the loss of water has on humans, but we haven't really touched on the effect it has on animals and the ecosystem in general. One continent that the loss of water is causing an issue for is South America. While South America boasts vast freshwater resources, they're also being deforested and losing a lot of water. And because of this, a lot of animals are losing their genetic diversity, dying, and just to loss of water or the contamination of water from our practices. Organizations like the WWF Fund have worked to protect South America's freshwater ecosystems, once again emphasizing the importance of maintaining healthy rivers and rainforests. Australia is another continent that faces these problems because, like America, while they are in general a first world country, they experience droughts and some water scarcity due to their extreme heat temperatures. Because of this, it has led to innovations such as the water allocation systems in the Murray-Darling Basin and investments in desalination technology. Desalination is the process of taking salt water and extracting the salt out to make fresh water, and this is a practice that's becoming increasingly more common across our world because of our general loss of water. I think City also touched on this, but with Antarctica, they also face numerous problems because while they have an enormous amount of fresh water, it's all stored in glaciers, which obviously can't really be extracted efficiently. And they're also very vulnerable to climate change, as obviously we can all notice that the melting of the polar ice caps and the Antarctic ice has been to introduce to touch more on water sustainability. Daniel Ahmad.
More on what he was talking about, the glaciers. Climate change doesn't just bring the melting of the glaciers and the loss of cute polar bears and everything. It also brings natural disasters that have ravaged much of the world. For example, Pakistan in this past year has been ravaged by horrible floods that have flooded many of the coastal cities, including Karachi and some of Lahore, causing many of the water drainage systems to fail. Now, this doesn't just mean fresh water flowing to your sinks or getting fresh water to be drunk. It also means that sewage has been flowing out, which is a lot bigger problem than you might expect. With the sewage flowing out, it contaminates all other water systems, which, when combined with this brackish water, leads to almost all of Pakistan's water systems being compromised. This has led to then an international relief effort having to be led by the World Bank and other international organizations in order to relieve Pakistan. Also, Bangladesh is known to have been suffering horrible floods in 2004, 2010, and many other years prior, with them flooding all these times due to not having a defensible enough coast against floods and tsunamis and monsoons and whatever they have been facing. However, I also want to touch upon what we as man have done. Man-made causes and political problems are one of, if not our biggest threat to water sustainability. As many people have probably heard of and thought about, especially in the past maybe decade or two, water politics, as they have been colloquially come to be known, have been increasingly getting more popular and increasingly becoming more tense. For example, a good example of this is Egypt versus Ethiopia. Basically, the Nile River, which is, it's one of the longest rivers in the world, everyone knows it, right? It spawns primarily from Lake Victoria in Ethiopia. But Ethiopia seeks to build the Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam. This dam is predicted to produce at least 250 megawatts per year, which would allow them to produce enough power to supply all of Ethiopia and the surrounding nations. However, this would block off water access to the Nile River, at least temporarily enough that then it could permanently lower the sea level of Lake Nasser, which is the largest water reservoir of Egypt, and it could stop a lot of the water flow and thus electric flow to Egypt, considering that also they supply most of their electricity through their dams. Because of this, Egypt has threatened Ethiopia multiple times, with Ethiopia then taking it as well a threat and not letting them oversee the actions of them building the dam. This has raised tensions massively within the region and has even led to an airstrike almost being called on the dam by Egypt, almost causing a war. In fact, this is honestly, unfortunately, one of the most predicted wars to be happening in the next 20 or 30 years.
That's a great point. Sorry to interrupt, that's a great point. Since we thought of keeping this engaged, that's a great point. The water is also a source of cause of tussle between various states.
Yeah.
Another example of that dam being built, although it creates hydroelectric power, which could be used as energy, it also causes problems. Indus River.
I was actually about to just get into that.
I know that. The Indus River between, I write in foreign policy, which is why I keep these ideas. Indus River between Pakistan and India, that's a big, that's a contentious issue there, because if you build dams, great, you get hydroelectricity, but it's going to deprive the lower riparian states from any
supply.
Sorry, go ahead. That's a great point you mentioned.
Yeah, no, and additionally, actually continuing on from that, there's even a third player that could be added to the mix. As China has been increasingly, more active in this region, the Kashmir region and basically the border regions, it could even be that, they start to interact with the Indus River Valley, considering that, well, the Indus River spawns within Tibet. So, considering all of this, and especially the fact that wars have been fought, especially between Pakistan and India, possibly being some of the first water wars, these are problems that we really have to consider. And
also to Nathan's point before, I don't know if you realize the Mekong River is a very big source of life for several, not just states, I mean, in international relations we call countries as states, but for several countries, because it flows through several states, that Mekong River. In fact, there has been a commission, Mekong Ganga River Commission, which was formed between Southeastern Asian states, Laos and Thailand and Cambodia, all those states, and Ganga River, which is in India. So that's how important the Mekong River is. There's also Mekong River Commission. They look at fisheries and overfishing and bottom trolling, and a lot of things there deprive the river of aquatic life and henceforth the employment opportunities across the river basin. So that Mekong River is very important. I would strongly suggest you guys to go back and read more about that, because you know how the Southeastern Asian countries are, right? They're not like North America. They're not too huge in terms of geography, very cluttered, but there are very many countries, okay? So just research on that Mekong River. That's a pretty big source of life, in fact, for many countries.
Thank you. And I frankly believe that I've overstepped my time, so I'm going to pass it to Rush to see some good stuff.
Sure.
Rather than...
So actually it's more on the ecosystem and bodies of water. So as I was saying, clean water is not only vital for human well-being, but it's equally essential for the health and sustenance of our natural world. Ecosystems from coral reefs to tropical seas to freshwater lakes nestled in remote mountains rely on clean water sources to thrive. So the interconnected web of life within these ecosystems depends on the purity and availability of water. So coral reefs, which are actually often referred to as rainforests of the sea, are incredibly diverse ecosystems that support vast arrays of marine life. So these ecosystems are particularly sensitive to changes in water quality, and when polluted water laden with sediments and contaminants flows into coral reef areas, it can smother and harm the delicate corals, which leads to a decline in biodiversity. Healthy coral reefs, on the other hand, depend on crystal clear waters in order to support the growth of corals, which provide shelter and sustenance to countless species of fish and other marine life. Rivers, lakes, and wetlands are also hubs of biodiversity, teeming with unique species of plants, animals, and microorganisms. Clean water is the lifeblood of these freshwater ecosystems, and when pollutants such as industrial runoff or untreated sewage enter these water bodies, it can disrupt the balance of life within them. And water quality issues can lead to the decline of aquatic species such as fish, amphibians, and birds, and have cascading effects on the entire ecosystem as we know it. The responsibility of safeguarding our environment, including clean water sources, falls upon the shoulders of each generation. However, today's youth are uniquely positioned to take up this mantle, and their involvement in environmental stewardship is crucial. We're not just the custodians of the future, but we're active agents of change in the present. Around the world, young people have initiated and actively participated in environmental conservation projects. These projects are often driven by a deep sense of responsibility and a passion for preserving in the natural world. For example, youth-led initiatives like the Clean Rivers Project have made tangible differences in local water bodies. These projects often involve cleaning up polluted waterways, restoring habitats, and raising awareness about the importance of clean water for both people and ecosystems alike. They showcase the profound impact that we, the youth, can have in protecting and restoring our environment. Youth voices have been at the forefront of climate change activism, emphasizing the interconnectedness of environmental issues. Greta Thunberg and the Youth for Water movement are just two examples of young activists who have harnessed the power of social media to raise awareness about clean water issues and broader environmental concerns. Their efforts have spurred global movements demonstrating the impact of young activists in advocating for environmental protection and sustainability. By engaging in environmental stewardship, the youth of today can drive positive change not only in our communities, but on a global scale. We possess the passion, innovation, and determination to address environmental challenges, including the critical issue of clean water access and preservation. Our involvement is essential for the sustainability and well-being of future generations. On that note, access to education is also a fundamental right, yet many youth in underdeserved regions face significant barriers due to the absence of clean water. These challenges can hinder our educational progress and have far-reaching consequences. In regions without access to clean water, like I said before, waterborne diseases are rampant, and children who drink or use contaminated water are susceptible to illnesses like diarrhea, cholera, and typhoid. The impact on our health is not only physical distressing, but can lead to a frequent absences from school. For instance, in parts of sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, children, especially girls, often miss school days due to waterborne illnesses, and this perpetuates a cycle of poverty and gender inequality as we struggle to keep up with peers academically. In many cases, the responsibility for fetching water falls on children, particularly girls. They have to walk long distances to collect water and for their families, which can take hours a day. This time-consuming task leaves little time for studying and attending school. The burden of water collection disproportionately affects girls' education because they're expected to help with the domestic responsibilities. This gender disparity can limit educational opportunities and perpetuate gender inequality in regions where it is already a rampant issue. So to illustrate the impact of clean water on education, we can look at Water for Schools, which is in Kenya. This initiative is led by non-governmental organizations and provides clean water sources in schools. By doing so, it has transformed these schools by reducing waterborne illnesses, improving attendance, and ultimately enhancing the educational outcomes of students. The program not only supports children's health, but also empowers them to access quality education, breaking the cycle of water-related barriers to learning.
So, Arush, have a comment?
Yeah.
Me too. So I wanted to read you guys an article because of talking about resiliency within the water. Locally, this was an article that came out in April of 2021 in Middlesex County. A coalition of local Middlesex County leaders and technical experts have announced the launch of the Resilient New Jersey Raritan River and Bay communities. So I don't know if you guys are aware, South River is called South River because we are south of the river, right over in our area. So this joint effort led by the NJDEP in partnership with the Middlesex County, including the municipalities of Carteret, Old Bridge, Perth Amboy, Sayreville, South River, South Amboy, and Woodbridge, and supported by Arcadis, will identify and implement flood risk reduction strategies for the Raritan River and Bay region to improve long-term environmental and economic resiliency. To ensure an equitable approach to resiliency, the project team is seeking input, information, and recommendations from local towns. So what did they do? This was part of like a Rutgers program with college students to also bring back the ecosystem within the Brereton River and help absorb some of the flooding issues that we had in our town. A large portion of our town that's close to the river was flooded, and a lot of those homes had to be knocked down after Sandy. So the initiative to bring back that ecosystem within the river really helped and improved our river as we speak. So that's a big program that's going on right now. They continue to improve it, and I know in Saraville as well, they started to implement also like an area where people can go kayaking or walk around the river. So those are great improvements locally around here that is being done to improve the ecosystem within the water.
So I actually had.
I just have one comment.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned about cleanup, cleaning water as part of your comments. Look up on Passaic River cleanup, right? That's one of the most highly polluted rivers in New Jersey. I mean, there could be others, but from what I know, and the state government, maybe even federal government, actually spending several millions of dollars in cleaning that river up, right? It's pretty important, number one, because a lot of people, a lot of businesses, I should say, have been polluting that river with toxic waste. Number one. Number two, you're talking about coral reef, right? I was thinking about that. It's pretty important. What happens is just out of sheer greed, we're killing a lot of coral reef, and coral reef is important. We can't see them, right? They're deep in the seabed. It's really important to maintain ecological balance, henceforth.
Yeah, because there's a sustenance for the wildlife.
Exactly. So what happens is there's two types of fishing. One is regular fishing, where the fishermen just go a few feet deep. The other called is bottom trawling. So the enticing factor about that bottom trawling is you can catch a lot more fish in a few catches. However, because bottom trawling, as it says, goes all the way down to the seafloor. The problem is you're getting a lot of fish. At the same time, you're getting a lot of crustaceans and other creatures from the bottom, the seabed. Now that is scraping away. Think of it like this, right? So that is scraping away the whole coral reef and other ecosystem present there, and it's killing all that stuff. So thereby upsetting and creating an imbalance in the ecosystem. So that's also something to think about. And what Julie mentioned is also a great point about the river.
So back on the topic of education, Julie, I actually have a note about the Water for Schools program in Kenya if you're interested. Okay, so basically, like I was saying, that they've noticed an increase in attendance. So what they were saying is that when schools have access to these clean water sources, they see that an increase in student attendance. And I think this was important to acknowledge because when clean water is readily available, children were less likely to miss school because they were driven by the fact that there was clean water in the schools because they can't get them on their own due to water fetching, and that's still it's still really hard for them to go and do that. And it was contributing to better overall learning environments because they were able to maintain proper sanitation and hygiene, and it ensured that the students have clean restrooms and hand washing facilities, which in turn reduced the spread of waterborne diseases within the school community and the actual societal communities, and fostered healthier, more conducive environments for learning. And beyond the immediate benefits, access to clean water was empowering the youth to focus on their education and then broader personal development, because when children don't have to worry about falling ill or collecting water, they can invest that other time and energy in their studies, pursuing extracurricular activities and envisioning futures with greater possibilities. It was providing foundations for them to break free from the constraints of water-related barriers to education. And the Water for Schools program in Kenya was a prime example because it transformed schools by providing clean water sources, which led to improved attendance and better educational outcomes for students. And the success of such initiatives underscores the profound impact of clean water access on the educational journeys of the young individuals in Kenya and the potential to create brighter futures for themselves and their communities.
I'm glad you mentioned. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a witness of this thing. When I was growing up, I was in a very good school. Okay, everything, education was good. It was good, but I always thought about this myself. Do I want to go to school? Because I didn't want to use their restrooms. And you know how we had water? We had big taps, and you could just switch on and off. You couldn't control water. We were talking about efficiency, right? So every time we tried to drink their water, we wasted so much water, but our bathrooms didn't have water.
Oh, wow.
Or very little water. They will not clean it. So that is one thing I always thought, even though I was in a very, very good school.
Yeah, like we were talking about incentives before. And we were talking about how do we get the kids here and send, like, the kids over there, their incentive for learning was the fact that they could have clean water access that wasn't readily available to them in their homes, which I think is just really important to acknowledge. It really just stresses how scarce clean water was in these areas. And I think it just kind of makes you appreciate like the resources that we have.
Yeah, and I was about to say that same thing. Sanitation, I'm glad you mentioned sanitation, is really important because that creates gender disparity as well. Because a lot of, especially girls, girls and women, the open defecation is a big problem. I mean, especially in South Asian countries, because they're, third world. So lack of and imagine, especially for girls, right, for females, how horrible would they feel, regardless of, even if it's an Oxford-rated school, if there's no facility there's no toilets, no bathrooms, no open so they would not be motivated to go to schools. As a result, the school registration, they would be the percentage would drop in females, and as a result, slowly over time, they would diminish and ultimately lead to loss of interest, and henceforth skewed sex ratios.
And my last point with that being said, so I can let everyone do their closing remarks, but actually, one could honestly argue that that was definitely something that was done on purpose in these communities, because these were communities that did not recognize the female education as something that was of importance. In fact, they thought of it as superfluous. They thought of it as trivial, like they do not need this, it's not something that they need, they just need to learn their life skills, they need to know how to cook, clean, that's it, right? Which is honestly quite ironic considering they couldn't even have proper sanitation in the bathrooms at school. So basically what they would do is it's underfunded, the education, and therefore these girls are unmotivated, they don't want to go to school, and overall, especially in places like Africa and the Indian subcontinent, the school was also an unsafe environment. Like we're all familiar with the Taliban and Malala Yousafzai and like everything that happened a few years ago, like actually not a few, but you know what I mean, like almost a decade ago, with like how dangerous it was over there. It's just creating this environment where girls are not motivated to learn, and therefore puts them at the bottom of the hierarchy of education. And in these areas, they will never get out of these areas. They will never push against these gender barriers, and therefore, at the end of the day, even though it's holding back communities as a whole, it does put women at the bottom. And I'm a strong believer, and the only reason why people hinder women is because they're afraid of the power that they might have if they are educated. So with that being said, I'll move on to Siddhi with closing remarks for her topic.
So we've talked about a lot of serious topics, but so talking about the path forward and more things we can do to make water efficiency on a larger scale. One thing could be a designation of a water efficiency coordinator. There are many jobs in the federal, state, and just for the township that water does come under, but it's important to have somebody dedicated to water efficiency, since although it all comes under clean water and sanitation, water efficiency is one of the key factors. Another thing is the development of a water efficiency plan. It's important everybody is always like, oh, we need to have water efficiency, we need to use it, but like we need a plan and a date by when, or a year by when we want to get this done. Like for example, the United Nations goals, they have a year, they have targets, so we need something like that for water efficiency as well, to make sure that everything gets done on time and with proper techniques. Another thing is education and involvement. So it's very important that people recognize the topic and understand like the seriousness of the topic, because I know a lot of people, they're like, we know water, we need to save our water, but they don't really go into it, so they don't really feel that connection to it. So by educating people, it'll be easier for people to feel that connection, and with the involvement, not just adults, but children as well, getting it from a young age will be also very helpful. So as they move forward and as everybody moves forward, they can do something to help. Another thing is water efficient landscape practices. So a place where a lot of water is wasted is landscaping, planting, all of that kind of stuff, and which is actually surprising, because too much water, not only does it waste water and money, but it's actually bad for lawns, and too much of anything is bad for anyone or any creatures. So too much water in your lawn actually ruins your lawn. So it's important to make sure, well, not only making sure your lawn is perfect, but also taking care of the amount of water and also the amount of money that's being wasted. Another thing is system improvements. So implementing a water loss management program and considering, like I've mentioned before, using reclaimed wastewater distribution for non-potable uses, of course, and like doing other things like ensuring fire hydrants are tamper-proof and doing other things like that to make sure that everything is on point and everything is working. And equipment changes, like I mentioned before, when things get old and things aren't working anymore, it's important to make sure that that they get replaced. And also with current things, even if they're working properly, if there are ways like high efficiency water sense labeled toilets, the toilets can recognize how much water is needed, and it'll only use the minimum amount, which can save a lot of water as well. So now that we've talked about the large-scale solutions, there are also small scales that are easier for people to implement, such as running the dishwasher only when it's full and turning off the tap while brushing your teeth. These are little things that everybody can do in their daily lives. And letting your faucet run for 5 minutes extra while washing dishes can waste nearly 10 gallons of water and uses enough energy to power a 60-watt light bulb for over 18 hours. This just really shows us how much just the 5 minutes, how big of an impact it has. Also, if the average size lawn in the United States is watered for just 20 minutes every day for 1 week, it's like running the shower constantly for 4 days or taking more than 800 showers. That's equivalent to the amount of water needed for the average family to take 1 year's worth of showers. So that extra 20 minutes, that extra 10 to 15 minutes that you're putting is wasting so much water that it can really be enough for an entire family to take an entire year's worth of showers. So as a concluding, let's hope to create a more secure world with the scientific research, technical innovation, capacity building, and policy reforms. And never leave a water bottle unfinished, never leave a tap on. Doing small things like these are, over time, in the long run, have a lot of effect positively on our environment and people in our environment and creatures. So remember that we own bottled water, we own distilled water, we own mineral water, we own all these things, but we do not own water. Water is a resource that's for everybody, and we have no right to use it just the way we want.
That's a great point. We're talking about saving water, but it's funny how too much water is also bad, right, for growth of the grass. And we all see that, right? We leave the water sprinklers on every single day for more than 15 minutes. You see that the yellow stuff coming out of the grass, that means too much water, right? It's not able to grow, right? So that's a great point. So
and also the efficiency part, right? Learning about resources and everything. Not everybody doesn't have to do that. These small things, right? Leaving shower on for a long time, etc. These are such very small things, but people don't pay attention. They don't care. And it's so easy to implement, but nobody cares.
I want to say also with the efficiency, I don't know if anybody else has been to another country, but like in Europe, you go to a household and you see the toilet with barely any water, and they do that purposely for the efficiency of not wasting so much water. And then you come to America and our toilets are full before anything is even in there. So those are things too.
I have been to countries. Actually, I grew up in one of those countries where you don't even have toilets at home like here. You have public toilets, and then you have to fill a bucket and take that bucket with you.
Oh wow.
That's very difficult, but that's how it is. And then that also you have to fill from, like, you have to go 3 miles to get that water.
yeah, that's crazy. And another great learning from that, and I experienced this firsthand in California, which is part of America, which is supposedly the most industrialized nation on the planet. I'm saying all this because there is water scarcity in California, right? And our lawns, there's not enough water in California. It's supposed to be, the GDP of California is supposed to be more than a few countries combined, right? So there's not enough water in California, especially in Merced County and Santa Clara County. The government asks us to cut down on sprinkler runtime because there's not enough water. In California, can you imagine that? Which is home to Silicon Valley. There's not enough water in California. So yeah, so I tell people just because we live in an advanced country doesn't mean we could abuse the water usage and water availability. Those are some good points. I do that too at home. When I'm shaving, I never turn or keep the tap running. I turn, put the cream on, close it, shave, open, close. I never leave my tap running like that because there's no point. What's the tap running for, right? So, and I like that. Don't leave a bottle unfinished. Let's see who leaves the bottle unfinished today. Let's see. Everybody who opened a bottle, they must finish their bottle. And it's only water. It's not gonna hurt you. Promise.
I drink like 10 bottles a day. I'm gonna drink all.
Talked about all these alliances and how they help preserve our water, but we haven't really touched upon the quality of the water. While there is a lot, again, as Arush mentioned, while there is water, there's just a lot of the water has diseases and it is poisoning our population. And we need to take measures to first prevent that before we focus on, just making more water like desalinization. I think we should first focus on the quality of the water. As Arun mentioned, also with California, I think one of the best ways our country has, throughout history, has adapted to prevent disasters is when those disasters kind of just immediately, slowly start to kind of affect us. With California, this lack of water, things like that, I think we can look to California because it's right in our country. We're seeing these things happen. We can start to conserve. Okay.
So we can start. Just to interrupt, just for everybody here, we had 4 member panel as of this morning, but as of 8 o'clock this morning, right?
Yeah.
Is that Arush? 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
right? 8 o'clock, a member dropped out.
Yeah.
So Nathan
was fully involved.
He replaced him at 8 o'clock, so he had like an hour and a half to prepare.
Yeah,
So
this
considering all
I
that.
said to Danya, I was like, call Nathan, ask if he wants to.
No, that's fine, that's fine. You guys did a great job.
Yeah, Nathan's doing great for
I
someone
wanted
to
to
do
mention that, so that's fine, great. For 2 hours, the preparation is great.
Yeah.
And all of the panelists here, Julie, they were at least preparing for 2 weeks. They met at what, at least for.
You can tell they're 100% fully prepared. Today's conference.
They met at 9 p.m. Weekdays, they have school homework and all that, right? At least for 3 times, for 2 hours. And I know that because I was in one of them already. And so considering all that stuff,
The amount
great
of
job.
information that you all absorb and have given out today is phenomenal. I can't express how much I've learned just today about the world and how it's greatly impacting the way we feel about clean water. So that message is definitely getting across. My next question is how? How do you, I feel like everything is all about educating others because if they don't know what's going on, they'll never understand.
I'll definitely get to that in my closing remarks after they all finish.
Okay. Go ahead, Daniel, I think. No, sorry, Nathan, go ahead, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Back to what I was talking about California. We see these changes and how they're affecting how we're kind of seeing this firsthand and how our relatives, our friends are experiencing this. This motivates our country to start realizing the effects of water loss, and I think that's really important.
Actually, continuing straight off from what you said, I feel like throughout a lot of this, we've talked about possible solutions and everything, but something we really need to hit home is that it's already been affecting us now. For example, look at California. California has the famous Hoover Dam that is connected to Lake Mead. This is the largest reservoir in the West, and right now is nearing dead pool levels. Dead pool levels, if you don't know, doesn't mean that it can't transfer power over. It means that overall it can't even transfer water over to the other side of the basin. It means that tens of millions of Americans won't get supplied to power nor water within the West. And similarly, the second largest reservoir in the West, Lake Powell, that is connected to the Glen Canyon Dam, is suffering a very similar situation. In fact, some people even suggest just moving the water from Lake Powell and moving it to Lake Mead to attempt to postpone this, the only true American way. But thing is that at the end of the day, I can talk about all these problems and everything, I can be all this pessimistic, right? And sometimes, there's situations that don't turn out that well, like we were talking about reclamation water earlier. The River Thames has been reclaiming water from their very polluted River Thames for years, and now the company is trying to fail. But I'm tired of talking about this. After all, you have to have hope. The main problem with a lot of these situations, when you talk about these big issues in the world, is that people become apathetic. They become desensitized, They hear the same problems over and over and over again, and suddenly it doesn't matter to them anymore. But thing is that we can change it. We can change these things. I was talking about India before. India has a program called Atal Bhujal Yojana. This is the largest program, and India has been running for years. And they run incentives to help farmers stop overdrafting, to start protecting underground water reserves, and to do millions of more things to, help keep their water reserves safe. Brazil, they start building safer routes. Same with many African countries, as has been aforementioned, Many people hear about Somalia and the horrible state that's in, but it's working more. Somaliland, which is a state that is not officially recognized by most countries in the world, is improving, and it has safe water access for most of its citizens. Considering all of this, which as well, just to mention one more, Bangladesh, they have been building embankments. Remember how I mentioned earlier that they were suffering? They have been building embankments with help from the IMF and the World Bank in order to protect against monsoons. They have been building embankments, artificial mangroves, whatever it is. And with all of this stuff, and new futuristic technologies that have been improved and improved upon, like hydroponics, which is, to get this, hanging plants without even soil, which then has you only using 5 to 10% the water of traditional farming while producing plants, often at 30 to 50% faster growth rates. The future is bright. All we have to do is embrace it. We can't give up on it. Because the thing is that the children of the future are relying upon us. Because thousands have survived without love, but not one has survived without water. I'll hand it back to Rush.
I have a question, and you can answer after you give a closing remarks, all of you, so you can think. What is, the monsoon is the other side of the problem. Too much water problem, right? So one question is, what is one thing you guys would do, you guys promise to do, and promise to implement that in your life in an effort to save water? Think about it while you finish this. Yeah, go ahead.
Luckily, unlike past generations, we live in an age of technology and innovation more than ever before. The innovation and creativity of youth have the potential to drive transformative change in the quest for clean water. When young minds harness their skills and imagination, they can develop groundbreaking solutions to address clean water challenges. For example, in India, a group of enterprising students designed a low-cost, solar-powered water purifier. This innovative device utilized solar energy to purify water, making it safe for consumption. The affordability and the sustainability of the solution meant that it could be deployed in rural areas where access to electricity is limited. Such inventions have the potential to provide clean water to thousands, particularly in the rural and remote regions, as we've discussed for the entire panel, significantly improving public health. Several youth-led initiatives have resulted in development of mobile applications dedicated to monitoring water quality. One app, such as WaterWatch, allows users to collect and report data on water quality in their communities. By crowdsourcing this data, these apps empower local residents to identify contamination issues and raise awareness about the importance of clean water, which also provide valuable information for authorities to address water-related challenges promptly. Highlighting the significance of youth-driven innovation in clean water solutions, I want to consider the story of the Indian students, as I mentioned before, who created the solar-powered water purifier. This invention not only demonstrates the power of youth creativity and problem-solving, but also underscores the potential for sustainable, cost-effective solutions to bring clean water to underserved areas. Technology is also playing a pivotal role in addressing water-related challenges and ensuring the availability of clean water. I want to explore AI because AI is becoming very exponentially evident in these sort of situations. So it can be employed to optimize water treatment processes and reduce wastage. And by analyzing the water quality data in real time, these AI systems can make precise adjustments to treatment procedures, ensuring that the water meets quality standards that we're all looking for. And additionally, AI can predict water supply and demand, helping utilities plan more effectively and thus reducing water scarcity. So data analytic tools can process vast amounts of data related to water quality, usage patterns, and infrastructure maintenance. These insights enable authorities and organizations to identify areas where improvements may be needed, detect contamination properly, and respond to water-related emergencies more efficiently. So predictive analytics can forecast potential water pollution events, which allows proactive measures to protect water resources. So for example, the implementation of AI-driven water treatment systems in urban areas has led to significant improvements in water quality and water supply efficiently. So additionally, data analytics has been instrumental in identifying pollution sources in water bodies and guiding corrective measures. To summarize, the global clean water crisis demands our immediate attention. As we've discussed, the significance of clean water stretches far beyond quenching our thirst. It impacts health, the education, and the environment. Clean water is a fundamental human right, and the lack of access to it perpetuates a cycle of poverty and inequality. The power to affect change lies in the hands of the youth. Their energy, innovation, and commitment are invaluable in the pursuit of clean water for all. We should encourage each other to join the movement for clean water by volunteering with organizations, participating in local clean water projects, or even starting our own initiatives. Together, we can ensure a healthier and more sustainable world and make clean water an unquestionable reality for everyone. As we conclude the discussion, it is paramount to underscore the pivotal role of youth in the pursuit for clean water for all. The commitment, creativity, and passion of young individuals can drive significant change. We are the torchbearers of a cleaner and healthier future, and our active involvement is essential in addressing the global clean water crisis. By working together, we can ensure that our voices are heard and our efforts acknowledged. Okay, now you.
You guys have the concluding remarks, right?
Yeah, I did it.
Okay, you have. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Do you want to restate the question that you had before?
All right, so my question before was, what is, right after this meeting, what is that one thing you can promise me? Because I believe in action, right? What is that one thing you promise me you would implement in your lives, personal lives, having learned more about saving water? What's that one thing?
I stopped putting the faucet on full blast.
Wonderful, amazing. I learned that several years ago, and till date, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Very good, wonderful.
I stop before I shower, like giving the shower like 5 minutes to heat up, like because that wastes a lot of water. So stop doing that.
I think you mentioned this, but shaving, I always leave the faucet on, so I'll obviously stop doing that.
Absolutely wonderful.
Our commissioner.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good, no problem. Oh, wait. I have one more question, I'll save for her. Go ahead.
Me personally, I'm not trying to one-up you guys, but I was told in the past by my parents to not leave water on or anything like that. But I think my goal is to honestly get more people involved. I really want to work on starting my own fundraiser, a nonprofit even. I'm really interested in that, and I've been looking into it. And I really think the start of doing it on a more massive scale, making a better change in the community, or even the county, is to sort of get involved hands-on directly. And I want to move past the smaller changes, and I want to start making a bigger difference in my community overall.
Absolutely wonderful. I just love you guys for this, because something good has to come out of every conference, right? Or every meeting. That's fine, we're meeting people, the pictures being taken, videos being graphed. However, what is it that we learn? The change comes from us first, right? Change begins at home. The fact that you guys learned something and you guys are strongly willing to implement that in your own lives will make you a better ambassadors, right? As opposed to just reading from a script, now you're following it. Next time you talk to someone, you can say assertively that, hey, I'm following this in the first place in terms of water efficiency, which is why I have a moral right to talk about this, right? Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And I like that. That was a trick question, because you guys did not know that question. Nobody knew that question, right? I just made it up for you guys to see how involved you were in terms of just talking and preaching, or in terms of taking ownership. Mm-hmm. Wonderful, right, Julie? They all came up with an answer, and they're all practical, implementable, sustainable answers, right? They're not just off of some book. Wonderful, great, I like that.
I'm gonna tell like a real story, like how a day of a woman will be, was like when I was growing up in villages, okay? Think about that and think how, try to compare to what we are, what we have, and then think what can you do to help people. So you start your day early, you go to a very remote place for toilet because there are no toilets, it's all open. So you want to go before men wake up, okay? And then you want to take your shower in a small, lake or river nearby. okay? Then you come home, and when you're coming home, you have to carry water, drinking water with you from those rivers, okay? And it is literally a thing that you have to learn the skill. So you want to carry one here, one on this side. If you see these pots are this way, because they can, you can hold them tightly. And as you grow older, like you have to learn how much water I can carry in one day. And if you could do this without holding, then you can hold another bucket here. So you're carrying 3 at a time, 3-4 miles every single morning to bring drinking water home, okay? And it's not clean because that same water is being used for everything, right? So you want to first keep that water, like let it settle. You put some, a few things there.
All the sediments go.
So yeah, okay, you wait for that. Take out that water, then you filter it, then you boil it.
How would you guys filter it? By boiling it?
No, first, what do you put that?
Maybe like a big cloth.
Yeah.
Because all the sediments go down to the gravity.
Yeah.
But like, okay, I have one question. Was there like a lot of like sickness going on because of the water?
It happens.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then, but that was a normal thing for people because that's the only thing they could do. And the third step was to boil that water. And then you have to drink very carefully. You don't have enough even to drink. When you're cooking, you have to be, again, careful. And you know how you wash clothes? You have to again go back to wash it, okay? For your utensils, you don't have as much water as we have. So you will have one pot where you will put some soap, and again, not the soap, the kind of soap we get today, right? You wash, like, you put that soap on, you put every single thing in the same bucket because you're trying to use limited water and wash as
Too
much
many
as
clothes, less water.
like just in one bucket you have all your like utensils, everything, one after another, and then you just take another bottle, you just literally take it in your hands and try to wash it. That's how people lived, and even, I guess, even today, there are some countries where the same situation exists.
Yeah, so as I was stating before, I think the main issue is the perpetuation of gender roles in these areas. Like, I think that they really do perpetuate that these are the roles that are meant for girls, while the boys get to go to their schools that are funded by the government, girls have to stay home. And if they want to go to school, they have to go to the underfunded schools, which they don't even want to go to because of the lack of sanitation, the lack of proper education even. And honestly, it was just an unsafe environment, especially I can't even imagine at that time. Right now, it's an unsafe environment with so much legislation that's now protecting girls in different countries. It's still unsafe, so I couldn't even imagine how it was then when that wasn't really a prevalent issue that was in people's minds. So I really think that to combat that, I think that is an issue that lies within governance and policies. I don't think that's an issue of actual clean water. I think that's an issue that lies within the government because they're perpetuating these gender roles in order to keep women at the bottom of the social ladder, in order to keep women in the homes, in order to keep women as mothers, and to prevent them from growing and becoming as prevalent as men.
It's not just a policy,
it's a mindset. The herd mentality in these areas is extremely dangerous, and it's disheartening. It is scary. If I'm being honest, like it terrifies me.
It's not even herd mentality. I think that mentality of men is just sick mentality.
To be completely vulnerable, honestly, like because like I'm second generation, right? So, but I like still have like seen some of my family members, like I was saying before, how like those like even the ones who have who are very affluent, they have their daughters study, they send them to school, but that's only so that they appear more educated in the eyes of possible suitors. They don't actually practice the jobs that they go to school for. It's this herd mentality that women are nothing more than birth givers and wives, and I think that's what we need to combat. It's more of a legislator issue. Like I don't think, yeah, exactly. And using that makes them more lazy. That makes them not push for the fight for clean water. Because why do we need clean water if that's only supporting the people that they don't want in charge? So I think that's the issue that needs to be combated.
That's a great point which came out of the panel today as well. Keeping the water clean is not just for drinking purposes.
Exactly.
It's for sanitation and more importantly to reduce gender disparity.
Exactly. Clean water, like I said before, like I was saying before, how he said his child can't think of anything besides basketball. Clean water is the basis for everything, all that is living. Even if that's not something that strikes you, you can always trace it back to clean water. Because the reason why they have no issue with them not having enough clean water is because they don't see it as necessary if the women have it. Like, for example, I want to go all the way back into ancient times, ancient Egypt. When a pharaoh would die, they would bury the wife with him, right? A woman is nothing without her husband. A woman is nothing without a male on her arm. In some countries in the Middle East and in the Indian subcontinent, it is still frowned upon or still not allowed for women to, especially when the Taliban was in Pakistan and prevalent, you are not allowed to leave the house without a man on your arm. Therefore, without the men, women's jobs, like women's like purposes in life are invaluable. It's superfluous. They are only meant to give birth to more boys, and that's it. Like these pharaohs, they used to sometimes like just, oh my God, like I don't even want to talk about it. They used to get rid of their daughters if they had any, because that is seen as, no, that's bad. We don't need her. Like that's extra, because she doesn't do anything. She doesn't carry on the family line.
That's female infanticide.
Exactly, female infanticide, and that's still prevalent in the Indian continent and the Middle East. Female infanticide.
I wrote an article on that.
Same. So I honestly think that that's more of an issue, a cultural issue, because it's no coincidence that in the areas where clean water is not accessible, that there's also rampant sexism and gender inequality. Like I think that it's really connected, and I think that was the issue, and that the girls see it as normal at that point. Like I was talking about we need the whole SWAT relief initiative, how I was talking about how I really want to instill a gender studies curriculum in there, because these girls need to know why they need to study, why they need to look for opportunities, why they're learning English. They can't just be told to do it, because all their lives they've been told, you're gonna grow up, you're gonna get married, that's it. Like you're gonna have children, like that's your life. Be happy with it, right? You're gonna learn your life skills. Like you said, you thought it was normal, and that's not what the normal is, and these girls need to know that. But because they don't know that, then when these girls grow up into women, and then they have daughters of their own, that's what they're telling their daughters, and it's just an endless cycle of gender inequality, and that's what's letting the government get away with these things without providing clean water, because clean water is only meant for the people who deserve it, which aren't women in their eyes.
So again, on that topic, right, you mentioned about burying women if their husbands die. Same way, there were some cultures where people would be like, they would be burned, right, with their husband, right? Like, and then they have also other things, like in some communities, they will have to shave off their like hair and like, you know, they will
shave
their
hair.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think the dangerous mentality for that is that the girls are taught to appreciate that they even have the honor of being in that
Their
position.
mothers and fathers will do it because that's what they thought was
and
right.
And you gotta remember, right? What you said is right. It starts off as a cultural, I would say, disease. I don't promise cultural disease, you know. But it doesn't take time to spread across other cultures.
Exactly.
Because next thing you know, it becomes a human, and it becomes acceptable. Unfortunately, right? I think that's the mentality of these men, to make it more normalized, make it more acceptable, so they could run their
and that's
agendas.
why in these areas you don't see, like usually the people who fight against these things in those areas are people who don't live in those areas, because the girls in those areas find it normal. They wouldn't understand why they're fighting for it. The one time I can, like that's namely that I can think of, like a girl in the community fighting for it, was Malala Yousafzai. And what happened? Some Taliban member came onto the bus and shot her in her face. That's exactly what happened. And there was women supporting the Taliban during this area because they thought that was normal. And also I believe that and this is a little off topic, but it creates room also for stereotyping. All those things are just so dangerous, because then over here we're stereotyping, oh, that's how all Desis are, that's how all these groups of people are, when that's not the fact. It's just that this endless cycle has been perpetuated over decades and decades. So I think honestly the issue is fully lying within the culture. I think that the clean water issue is just perpetuated by it.
It's just amazing, right, Sherry, I know you just came in. It's just amazing that how, it's just unfathomable how we can connect something like water and sanitation and toilets and defecation to women's issues, right? Gender disparities, right? So it's just amazing how things, you know, multiply and become big global problem.
Yeah,
right?
Because these areas without clean water, they're impoverished, and you can say impoverished is exactly like, it lies within not being educated. There's no education there, and when you don't have education, that's what happens. These herd mentality ideas spread.
Yep, that's up. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, be good.
If there's any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but if not, I would like to thank you all for listening in on the panel, and I really appreciate it.
Right, okay, we'll move the table, we'll move the table, chairs, and then I will invite Sherry in a second. The Secretary of the South River Environmental Commission.
No longer secretary, but I'm an active member.
All right, the active vibrant member of the South River Environmental Commission. You want to say a word or two?
Oh, sure.
That's fine.
As you were speaking, I was really thinking of a book I read by Melinda Gates. Have you read, I think it's called The Moment of Lift?
I've heard of that.
Okay, well worth reading. Her specific focus was women can't gain equality and make some progress until they can control when they start having children and how many they have. And it was a huge thing for her to have to deal with because she's a lifelong Catholic and having to think about, okay, birth control, maybe we have to. So very interesting to see her grappling with that. And another book that really encouraged me that you might enjoy reading is Banker to the Poor. Have you heard of this book? What's his name? It's years since I read it, but Muhammad something. But just started loaning money, you know, to people in developing nations. And he found, as I recall, the best way to do it is to loan it to the women. Because unfortunately, the men might find something else to do with it other than something that would benefit the family.
I heard that.
Yeah, not all men, because but the women will, you know, start a little business or something. They just need, and they will pay back. So it was very encouraging to, you know, to know that there are other people passionate like you that have found ways to help. So I'm very encouraged to hear this is going on. I did meet your principal at South River Day. And
no. So
this is not related to St. Mark's.
No, and it's not, no.
People from all towns.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay.
All better, okay.
Yeah, go ahead, say good
But
words.
anyway, she invited us to come and do a, some kind of presentation about sustainability.
Yep.
So I, you know, feel like I need to get on that and help my...
No, that's fine. I'm going to talk to, I know the St. Mark folks, the Christian Academy folks very well.
Yeah.
They're also related to St. Mary Church.
Okay.
So I know them very well.
Yeah.
They've been gracious enough to offer us the space to have this. So, so I will pass on those good words to the principal.
Cool. Is this a group? Is this an organization?
Yeah, we just forming.
Yeah.
We just founded 2 years ago.
Okay.
The organization, we just evolving and growing and forming, you know, and as a meeting youth, I'm trying to recruit them into sustainable initiatives.
This is wonderful.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work, but yeah, because you have to talk to almost everyone who's here. I almost spoke with them for 15 to 20 minutes nonstop.
Wow, I'm sorry to miss you guys.
Yeah, so but they're all passionate. So and I'm hopeful to continue in this journey because I have a lot more opportunities for them.
Don't worry, I'll force them.
Yeah, well, there you go. I got to volunteer. I like forcing sometimes.
You need all kinds of personalities.
Yeah,
This is
all
what I
kinds of
found out.
personalities.
And maybe she's the get her done person.
Yeah, and I promised them. I spoke with the United Nations reps as well. I promised them to provide a platform there as well.
Okay.
But we got to work towards that.
So many good books
Yeah.
I could, juice you into. Atol Gawande, have you ever read any of his stuff? He's focused on men.
I've been reading some of like Margaret Sanger's stuff recently.
Now, see, I haven't read her, but
Oh,
maybe you
like-
can recommend to me something.
Yeah.
And there's another one, evangelical. There's an evangelical woman, I'm trying to remember if she's in politics, but she's all about sustainability.
Oh, okay.
Instead of denying,
Yep.
she's like about sustainability.
Yep.
And there's another, I don't remember if it's the same book, I might be conflating. There's a book about how we can talk to young people about climate change without making them despair.
I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
After this, we'll connect. I got Julie's contact. She's
Good.
been absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
Given that I spoke to her probably just a few times in the past week and a half, but she's been amazingly responsive. I spoke with, I tried to contact a few environmental commissions, a few townships.
Yeah.
But I'm proud to say that Julie was prompt.
Yes.
With the capital P, prompt, and immediately responsive,
Yes.
and follow-ups and all that. So I've been texting her nonstop. She's been very responsive.
Okay.
Thanks to her, and we need more people like Julie,
Yes.
and yourself, and everybody else who's doing a great job in South River Environmental Commission across all townships.
Yes.
To be honest, so great job.
So we'll try to get
We'd like to-
more of a showing.
Yeah,
There's just
we'll pull.
a confluence of obstruction today for the other people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Now,
Yes? Yes. 3, 2,